A disheveled man looks back in pure shock, realizing what is about to happen. And yup, our boy is about to get ice-guyed by a truck, a classic career move. This impact is brutal, a bloody crash signaling the end of his current life. But first, we rewind a few months to see exactly how he got here. Meet Hajime Sakamori, an office worker drowning under impossible shifts and staff shortages. He tries to complain to his section chief about the insane schedule, bless his heart. This chief just smiles, saying the orders came straight from the president himself. Then comes the condescending shoulder pat, the universal sign of corporate doom. His boss reveals his master plan with a psycho grin, just make the remaining staff do double the work. Sakamori protests that he has not been home in 3 days, but the chief could not care less. This guy even leans in with this creepy, you are so good at your job manipulation tactic. Pulling the ultimate power move, he claims the president personally called him for this task. With a final order to get it done, the chief leaves Sakamori completely defeated. This clock ticks past 1 in the morning as the city sleeps, but the office lights are still on. Our boy is so burnt out he is seriously considering just moving into his cubicle. Clutching his head, he realizes this soul-crushing workload is going to literally kill him. Suddenly, a noise from the office entrance snaps him out of his despair. Looking up, he sees 2 people walking in, casually chatting about the office space. It is the company president, looking like a cartoon villain with a woman on his arm. This president spots Sakamori slaving away and is shocked someone is still there, busted. This woman with the president mocks Sakamori, comparing him to a lame student in detention. With a gross kekek, the president agrees, while Sakamori silently seethes about the staff cuts. Pointing right at him, she just straight up calls our boy incompetent, zero chill. Sakamori is completely floored, like he cannot even process what he is hearing. They both just stand there judging him, with the woman calling him a total loser. This president actually praises her for this brilliant insight, leaving Sakamori utterly baffled. This woman, Iri, then suggests they should just fire him to save on salary, for the company. And the president, with the slimiest grin, just agrees and tells him he is fired. Our boy's entire world just shatters in that one single moment of pure disbelief. As they walk off, she is gushing about what a decisive leader he is for firing a random employee. Sakamori desperately tries to explain he is only there because of the insane workload they gave him. But the president just snaps, telling him to shut up because he is a useless employee wasting his time. Then he promises to buy Iri a designer bag with the money they will save from his salary. Ouch. He is left in total denial, hoping it was all just a sick joke to impress the president's mistress. This next morning arrives, the city waking up to a brand new day of corporate hell. And yup, it is official, Sakamori is formally told he is fired as of today. He tries to argue with his manager that it is too sudden, but the order came from the top. This manager offers some empty platitudes, saying there is nothing to be done. Thanks for your hard work. In that moment, the full weight of his situation just hits him like a ton of bricks. Drowning his sorrows, he cannot even remember how many days he basically lived at that office. Sakamori finally makes it home, just to collapse on the floor of his now dusty room. Lying there, he wonders if he was just a disposable part they could easily replace. Yup. His apartment reflects his mental state perfectly, a total mess of trash and empty bottles. Then comes the financial gut punch as he checks his bank book and finds his savings are gone. Looking like he has not slept in a year, he knows he has to find work and fast. Hitting the pavement to find a job, his disheveled look earns him plenty of stares from passers-by. He finally spots a sign for a job interview, a tiny glimmer of hope in the corporate wasteland. During the interview, he is bowing respectfully, though he still looks completely drained of life. This interviewers, meanwhile, look like they'd rather be literally anywhere else right now. So begins the montage of failure, applying to company after company with zero luck. This crushing reality hits him. He is getting rejected before he even gets a real chance. In a moment of pure despair, he wonders if there is even a place in the world that needs him. But then he spots a familiar figure, an older man in a suit getting into a car. Of course, it is his old section chief, the very architect of his misery. Sakamori confronts him on the street, and the chief looks totally stunned to see his former corporate slave. This guy has the absolute nerve to blame Sakamori for the department's problems since he left. Completely floored, Sakamori has to remind him, you fired me, I did not quit." Just then, some blonde guy with a punchable face leans out of the car, telling him he is being noisy. This section chief immediately throws him under the bus, telling the new president that Sakamori is why the department's failing. And the president squints, finally recognizing him as the loser he saw working overtime that night. This new president then has the audacity to threaten to sue Sakamori for quitting and causing trouble. Our boy is completely bewildered, having to remind these clowns that they unjustly fired him. With a slimy grin, the president basically dares him to go to court, knowing he is broke and has no proof. Sakamori is totally trapped, the sheer powerlessness of his situation finally sinking in. This guy then goes full villain, calling him a lowly bug who cannot do anything about it. After being promised a lifetime of unpaid overtime, something inside Sakamori just snaps. He finally explodes, grabbing the president by his tie and screaming right in his face. Immediately, the section chief panics, trying to pull his former corporate slave off the new boss. But the president just shoves Sakamori with all his might, sending him flying backward. Our boy stumbles right off the sidewalk and into the middle of the street. And yup, we are back to where we started, with Truck-kun arriving to punch his ticket. His eyes widen in absolute terror as he realizes this is really the end. A massive crash confirms his fate, ending his miserable life in a single, brutal moment. From his dying perspective, he watches the president and section chief just decide to run for it. His last thought is how they were the absolute worst people until the very end. What a way to go. As his body grows cold, his vision fills with what looks like fading embers. But then his arm appears whole again, surrounded by strange, glowing golden particles. Suddenly, a white-haired kid with purple face tattoos screams out, feeling an intense heat. Looking down at his completely new body, he has absolutely no idea what is happening. He stares at the floating embers, wondering if they are ashes as his ice-guide journey officially begins. Sakamori wakes up on a random stone altar, asking the million-dollar ice-guide question. His welcome party is a very serious-looking shaman with a skull for a hat. Naturally, our boy responds with a completely rational, high-pitched scream of terror. From the shaman's perspective, this new arrival looks like a pretty pathetic little morsel. Looking down, Sakamori sees he's got a whole audience of robed people kneeling before him. This shaman guy starts chanting some ritual nonsense while raising a giant club, never a good sign. As he approaches, the entire crowd bows down in what looks like a very ominous ceremony. This memories of Truck Kun hit him, and he realizes he is definitely not in Kansas anymore. He finally puts it together that he has been reincarnated just as a monstrous shadow looms. For a moment, it is just him, alone on his little stone stage, waiting for the show. But then the shaman suddenly drops to the ground and starts bowing. Plot twist. In fact, the entire congregation is now prostrating themselves on the floor, which is confusing. Sakamori is completely lost until a falling branch makes him look up, and he sees the real asterisk guest of honor, a giant, horrifying monster staring down at them. This thing is a multi-eyed, frog-like nightmare with a grin that says lunchtime. This shaman finally understands this is not a welcome party for a new god. It is a welcome party for the monster, and Sakamori is the main course, a sacrifice. With a drooling, toothy maw, the beast opens wide to claim its offering. Sakamori tries to yell hold on because apparently you can negotiate with giant monsters, but his brain just hits the emergency off switch and he passes out cold. Sakamori wakes up floating in a pitch-black void, completely lost and confused. He remembers being monster food but does a quick self-pat-down, realizing he is totally unharmed. With absolutely no context, our boy is just stuck in a state of pure what the hell is going on. Suddenly, a mysterious liquid drips right onto his face, which is never a good start to a new life. It gets in his mouth and his first thought is not gross. But this is sweet priorities, man. Following the sound of more dripping, he starts to think this is not just some random puddle. Crawling over, he finds the source, a pool of purple goo on a very fleshy-looking floor. In a move that would make any survival expert weep, he decides to taste test the mystery liquid. And yup, it is sweet, which is apparently all the confirmation he needs to keep going. Sitting in what looks like the stomach lining of a giant beast, he finally accepts this as his new reality. His hunger kicks in, and since the goo has not killed him yet, it is officially on the menu. Resigned to his fate, he scoops up a handful of the stuff to fill his stomach. His logic is flawless. He has already died once, so what is a little potentially poisonous goo between friends? But then his vision starts to sharpen, something definitely changing in his eye. All of a sudden, he can see perfectly in the dark, the fleshy landscape now totally visible. He stares at the glob in his hand, wondering if this weird snack is the cause. A wave of shock hits him as he processes the sudden biological upgrade. His eye is now fully adapted, taking in all the gory details of his bizarre new home. This kid finally connects the dots. Eating the monster's stomach juice gave him night vision. Staring at his hands, he realizes he is inside the very monster that ate him, and he is leveling up. Sakamori takes in his new surroundings, noting it is like a dimly lit room, a very gross, fleshy room. Since he was eaten, he figures this all makes a twisted kind of sense. A top-down view confirms it. He is a tiny speck inside the monster's massive stomach. Our boy starts sizing up his new prison, casually comparing it to a high school gym. He then gives the wall a poke, his scientific conclusion being that it is squishy, great analysis. For a moment, he just stands there with the most unimpressed look, totally accepting his fate. Curiosity gets the better of him, so he just hauls off and punches the stomach lining. And it is just like a meat trampoline, which is a phrase I never wanted to imagine. His stomach starts rumbling, but the only thing on the menu is that mysterious liquid he drank earlier. A flash of panic hits him. What if it is acid? But he quickly decides it is too late to worry now. Still, a guy can dream, and he is really craving some actual solid food right about now. But then his train of thought is interrupted by a strange noise from somewhere nearby. He turns to see a weird pink jelly-like blob that just plopped onto the floor. Naturally, his first instinct is to crouch down and poke the mystery jello for science. Picking it up, he looks around trying to figure out where this thing even came from. It looks like a fleshy, veiny piece of jelly, which is not an appetizing combination. With his stomach growling again, a terrible, brilliant idea starts to form in his head. He holds up the meat jelly, asking the million-dollar question, "Can I eat this?" Deciding he has already died once, he just shoves the whole disgusting thing in his mouth. And against all odds, it is absolutely delicious, gourmet dining in a monster's gut. Our boy breaks down the flavor profile like a food critic. It is chewy, melty, and surprisingly sweet. Of course, he chalks it up to being absolutely starving, not to gourmet monster guts. With a full belly, he happily explores his fleshy prison before taking a well-deserved break. Just then, another piece of mystery meat conveniently drops from the ceiling for him. A few days of this routine pass, and Sakamori is already getting tired of his new life. Holding his usual meal, he starts wishing for a little variety in his diet. Anything else, please. His wish is granted when he notices the next food drop feels a lot heavier than usual. And it is not food, it is a giant, horrifying spider monster, the new roommate from hell. Sakamori immediately freaks out, letting out a completely justified shriek of pure terror. This massive arachnid slams down onto the fleshy floor right in front of him. But the thing just sits there, leaving our boy totally confused on the ground. He quickly deduces it cannot see in the dark and plans a quiet, sneaky escape. Still, he cannot help but be impressed by its sheer size, which is a terrible priority right now. As it drips some goo, he casually compares the car-sized beast to, well, a car. This reality of his situation sinks in. One wrong move and he is spider food for sure. Then he notices where the goo is coming from and has a horrifying realization. Suddenly, its eyes glow and it lets out a piercing screech, locking right onto him. Yup, it can see him now, and our boy immediately bolts in the opposite direction. He is running for his life as the spider from his nightmares closes in fast. Total panic sets in as he realizes there is no exit. He is trapped in here with it. He sprints across the fleshy floor, trying to put some distance between him and his new roommate. For one glorious, hopeful second, he thinks he might have actually shaken it off. But a quick, sweaty glance over his shoulder tells a much different, much scarier story, because the spider's massive, fang-filled mouth is right there to say hello. With a terrified scream, he ducks as a giant leg swings right for his head. In a last-ditch move, Sakamori throws a wild punch and actually connects with the beast. Our boy just stares at his hand, completely baffled that his panic punch did anything at all. This spider actually stumbles back, stunned by the hit from its supposed dinner. And then we learn this is the 50th spider he has fought. Okay, that is a bit of a time skip. Lying on the ground, he lets out a sigh of pure, unadulterated boredom with this whole routine. Getting to his feet, he casually dusts himself off, basically saying another one bites the dust. Just in time for the next challenger to appear, its eyes glowing with misplaced confidence. A leg comes swiping down, but Sakamori does not even flinch this time around. He just casually one-shots the monster with a single, well-placed and very tired punch. Walking past the fresh corpse, he starts complaining about how they just keep on coming. Then he gripes about who is supposed to clean up all these spider guts, a valid concern. It turns out he has built a literal mountain of defeated spider monsters in here. Now he has even developed a sixth sense for where the sweet liquid is going to drop. Holding a piece of the monster meat, he starts to put two and two together about his situation. He finally realizes this stuff is the reason he can see in the dark and punch like a freight train. Sakamori's putting it all together. The monster diet has given him some seriously superhuman strength. And really, what other explanation could there be for his sudden, say, Tama-level power-up? Doing a little post-fight analysis, he confirms the spiders are basically armored tanks, which he has been punching through. Now he is getting tactical, using the spider corpses as a convenient, if disgusting, observation post. But then a new monster drops in and effortlessly slices one of the armored spiders clean in half. This is a reminder that these spiders are supposed to be nearly indestructible, even against firearms. And yet Sakamori was one-shotting those same armored beasts without even breaking a sweat. Taking a moment, he examines the strange markings on his arm, the clear source of his new strength. With this realization, he decides to test his full power on the fleshy walls of his prison. He has also become quite the interior decorator, with a massive, growing pile of spider corpses. His face is set with grim determination, ready to see what his full power can actually do. And the result of his epic punch is absolutely nothing. The wall is completely unscathed. Our boy is seriously disappointed. He can one-punch armored spiders but cannot even dent his squishy prison wall. With a heavy sigh, he wonders when he will ever escape this place just as the next daily spider delivery arrives. At this point, he is just keeping a running tally of his kills, casually pointing out number 93. Oh, and it looks like the monster's stomach has upped the difficulty. He is now facing a whole horde of spiders. His biggest problem is not the spiders anymore, it is that he is running out of room because of all the corpses. But then a different sound cuts through the usual chaos, something he has not heard before. Because dropping into the arena now is a massive, horned crocodile, a whole new weight class of monster. Sakamori's reaction is pure shock. The daily menu just got a serious, terrifying upgrade. This crocodile's eye snaps open with a terrifying glow, locking right onto its target. Sakamori's face drains of all color as he realizes this is not another mindless spider. With a desperate scream, he confirms the worst. This new monster can see him perfectly. It lunges forward with incredible speed, a blur of razor-sharp teeth and armored scales. Sakamori barely dodges as the beast's jaws slam into the fleshy wall right behind him. Its teeth sink deep into the stomach lining, the very same wall he could not even dent. This monster then rips a massive chunk of flesh free, showing off its insane jaw strength. And a crazy idea sparks in Sakamori's mind. This thing could be his ticket out of here. But there is no time for brilliant escape plans when a giant reptile wants you for lunch. He sprints away, knowing his usual one-punch strategy probably will not work on this thing. Glancing at a dead spider, he is reminded that even the weak monsters are built like tanks. He knows a direct assault is suicide, so he needs to find a weak spot and fast. And just like a video game boss, a targeting reticle helpfully points out the soft underbelly. So he plants his feet and basically dares the giant death lizard to come get some. This crocodile happily obliges, charging straight at him with its mouth wide open. It closes the distance in an instant, a green and yellow blur of pure destruction. At the last second, Sakamori leaps high into the air right over the monster's head. Mid-air, he grabs onto the crocodile's horn, using its own momentum against it. With a look of absolute focus, he prepares to execute his completely insane plan. And our boy literally flips the entire crocodile onto its back, exposing its weak point. With a mighty heave, the giant crocodile is slammed onto its back, totally helpless. Sakamori immediately seizes the opportunity, rushing in to deliver the final blows. He unleashes a furious punch right into the monster's exposed, squishy underbelly. This impact sends a shockwave through the beast as his fist sinks deep into its flesh. And a look of pure relief hits him as he realizes his plan is actually working. Standing on the twitching corpse-to-be, he has a classic oops moment, very casual. Knowing he has to end this fast, he winds up for another round of punches. After a brutal beatdown, the crocodile lies still with a massive hole in its chest. Our boy collapses, completely spent after landing 20 hits just to take this thing down. Of course, all that monster slaying has worked up a serious appetite for our hero. And his gaze falls on the fresh corpse, remembering that crocodiles supposedly taste like chicken. Since his diet has been liquid and weird jelly, he figures he might as well try it. He zeroes in on the belly, the very same spot he just tenderized with his fists. Now he is wondering if he can just tear it open with his hands, for a snack. With his super strength, he digs his fingers right into the armored scales, and the hide rips open with surprising ease, much to his own shock. Pulling out a chunk of meat, he is surprised it looks almost appetizing, not gross at all. He tries to rationalize eating it raw by calling it chicken sashimi, a true culinary genius. Taking a deep breath, he just goes for it and shoves the raw monster meat into his mouth. And the verdict is in, it is delicious and it actually tastes exactly like chicken. Sakamori is absolutely loving his new meal, confirming it is way better than the old mystery goo. Sitting on the corpse, he daydreams about proper seasonings but is just happy for the variety. But then something stops him mid-bite, a look of pure confusion on his face, because he notices a strange glow coming from inside the very crocodile he is eating. He pauses his gourmet experience to investigate this weird internal light source, and from the guts he pulls out a small, glowing golden orb, a monster gacha drop. Giving it a curious poke, he finds out it is squishy and guesses it is just another organ. Of course, his next move is to poke it harder, causing it to explode all over his hand. This golden goo splashes right into his mouth, leading to a moment of pure disgust. Except it is not gross at all, it is a perfect blend of spicy, salty, and sweet. This stuff is basically a naturally occurring monster guts dipping sauce. A brilliant idea hits him, he can combine the meat and the new seasoning. And the result is a culinary experience that completely blows his mind. Suddenly, he is not just eating raw ingredients, he is having a full-blown gourmet meal. But his joy is short-lived as he realizes the tiny puddle of sauce is already gone. Now that he has had a taste of the good life, he cannot go back to plain old monster meat. He even dismisses the sweet water, knowing it would not pair well with his new favorite flavor. His eyes then land on a pile of other monster parts or maybe eggs in the corner, and a new, food-driven purpose fills him as he puts two and two together. So now he is digging through a giant crab monster, desperately hunting for more of that liquid gold. After some gross spelunking, Sakamori finds another one of those glowing flavor orbs. And of course, the first thing he does is go in for a big all lick. Hygiene is optional. This one's got a citrusy tang, a nice change of pace for our resident monster gourmand. He has hit the jackpot, finding a whole pile of the things to season his crocodile feast. A few days later, the crocodile is picked clean and Sakamori is in a full-on food coma. Lying back, he is just so grateful for the monster gut sauce that made it all possible. Then a familiar feeling hits him. A new surge of power is coursing through his veins. The confident smirk, he realizes this gourmet meal came with a serious stat boost. Time for a test run as he winds up a punch aimed right at the fleshy floor. This time, the wall actually cracks and splits wide open from the impact. Staring into the chasm he just created, our boy is completely stunned by the result. Looking at his hand, he is in total shock since last time he could not even scratch this place. But his celebration is cut short when the entire room starts to shake violently. His tremors are so intense he can barely keep his balance, getting thrown around. A deafening roar echoes through the chamber and he clutches his head in pain. Everything is convulsing from the walls to his leftover pile of monster condiments. That roar confirms his worst fear. He is inside a living and now very angry giant monster. He figures the beast is writhing because he just punched a hole in its stomach lining. Oops. This floor beneath him suddenly gives way and his world tilts sideways. And now he is plummeting down the very hole he created, falling into the abyss. Sakamori plummets into the darkness, having a very understandable oh crap moment. His fall is abruptly ended by a massive splash into something very, very wet, and now he is tumbling through a sea of bubbles, completely submerged in the monster's innards. His first thought is pure panic. He is trapped in a giant, fleshy water bottle. Then the horrifying follow-up question hits. Is this water or stomach acid? Either way, he knows he is on a timer before he drowns in this disgusting mystery juice. But just as he tries to swim up, the whole world starts turning violently again. This monster is apparently doing barrel rolls, turning his escape into a nightmare spin cycle. With no air left, he realizes this might be the most pathetic way to die ever. Desperate for a plan, his mind races for any possible way out of this mess. He spots the fleshy ceiling above, the same kind of wall he punched through before. A spark of genius or maybe just pure desperation hits him with an idea. If you cannot swim up, just punch your way out. A flawless strategy, really. So he winds up another superpowered punch, ready to give this monster more indigestion. His fist connects with the fleshy floor, aiming to create another convenient exit. Landing on the squishy ground, he confirms he has found his target and prepares to push. With a powerful shove, he starts forcing his way up through the membrane. He literally claws his way through the monster's internal plumbing, which is just delightful. Breaking through, he finds himself hanging in yet another disgusting, fleshy chamber. Sakamori lands on his feet, relieved to be out of the water and into the next level of hell. Sakamori knows he cannot relax. He has got to bust out before this monster does another barrel roll. He remembers his last punch, confident that his new stat boost is more than enough. With a serious hit, he is sure he can blast an escape route right through the monster's guts. So he winds up channeling all that crocodile-fueled power into one glorious fist, and with a mighty "here I go," he unleashes his ultimate monster indigestion punch. This impact absolutely shreds the fleshy wall, tearing a massive hole to freedom. Our boy is thrilled with his handiwork, admiring the perfectly sized exit he just made. But as he dives through, he gets hit by a sudden blast of internal pressure. This monster's insides are apparently trying to eject him with extreme prejudice. He is literally shot out like a cannonball, riding a wave of, let us just call it fluid. Suddenly, he is soaring through the air, looking up at an actual sky for the first time. For a second, he is just relieved to be out until he remembers gravity is still a thing. His body plummets towards a lush forest and a sparkling body of water below, and he lands softly on a beach, finally out of the grossest escape room ever. After a much-needed nap, his eyes slowly flutter open to a brand new world. This sunlight is so bright he has to shield his face, a problem he is happy to have. A quick pat-down confirms the impossible. He is completely unharmed after all that. Sitting on the shore, it finally sinks in that he somehow survived the whole ordeal. Then the next big question hits him: exactly where on earth did he get spat out? Scanning the horizon, he cannot find the monster and just shrugs it off priorities. Finally outside, Sakamori has one simple goal. He just wants to meet another human being. He is not even picky, shouting that he'd even settle for the shaman who tried to sacrifice him. But instead of a person, he finds a giant, very angry-looking pink spider blocking his path. His reaction is pure, unfiltered boredom since he has already fought one of these things before. This spider screeches, and all our boy can think about is how he never noticed its fabulous color scheme. To be fair, it was pretty dark inside the giant monster's stomach, so you cannot really blame him. Dodging a lethal strike, he casually notes how pretty it is, his priorities clearly in order. This thing is way faster out in the open, forcing him to weave through a flurry of its attacks. And just like that, the fight's over before it even really began, a total non-issue. With the spider neatly dispatched, he dusts off his hands, ready to get back to his quest. Except when he checks the corpse, he finds some weird glowing flower instead of his precious sauce orb. A moment of pure panic hits as he realizes his favorite condiment is nowhere to be found. After rummaging through the guts, he confirms the tragic news: this spider is completely sauce-free. This gets him thinking maybe only the monsters inside that other asterisk monster had the special flavor orbs, so he decides to follow the spider's trail, hoping to find the source of these creatures. His little expedition leads him right to the edge of a massive cliff, a dead end. Looking down, he spots what looks like a giant, terrifying nest made of rock and webs. His curiosity is piqued, wondering what could possibly live in a place like that. Then he spots another one of those spiders crawling right into the entrance below. Shielding his eyes, he notices it is carrying something, and suddenly this gets a lot more interesting. Peering closer, he sees the spider is not just carrying something, it is a person wrapped in webs. And it is a human kid, completely unconscious, which is a huge asterisk deal for Sakamori. Without a second thought, he scrambles down the cliff, assuming it is taking home a snack. His feet dig into the rock as he rockets down to intercept the monster, which lets out a furious screech, probably not happy about the party crasher. Sakamori lands right in its path, ready to throw down for his first potential human contact. He yanks the kid free, complaining about how sticky the webs are, a true hero's lament. After dispatching the spider off-screen, he gently checks to see if the kid's okay, who just lets out a little groan, confirming he is still alive but definitely out cold. Sakamori is relieved, hoping this kid can finally lead him to a town or village. But his moment of hope is shattered by the arrival of the spider's entire, massive family, and they are all staring him down right at the entrance to their nest, looking hungry. Our boy admits that while one was easy, a whole swarm is a bit overwhelming. This horde of angry pink spiders immediately charges at him and the unconscious kid, so Sakamori gets that time-to-work look on his face, ready for a real fight. He dives straight into the chaos, kicking and punching his way through the swarm, showing off some serious moves now that he has got that crocodile-fueled stat boost. Then he slams the ground with a powerful palm strike, clearing some space around him. Barely dodging a sharp leg attack from another one of the monsters, and he uses its own limb as a springboard to launch himself at the next target. He gets knocked back by the sheer number of spiders, hitting the ground hard. Admitting that actually hurt a little, he realizes just how badly he is outnumbered. Meanwhile, the spiders are closing in on the unconscious kid, who is about to become lunch. Sakamori gets right back up, absolutely furious at the monsters for targeting his potential friend. He shoves one of their legs away, yelling at them not to touch his precious guy. After all, this is the first person he has found to talk to, and he is not letting them get eaten. With renewed purpose, he dives back into the fray, a whirlwind of fists and feet, but he quickly learns that protecting someone while fighting is way harder than it looks in anime. His solution is simple: just wipe them all out so he can have a nice, leisurely chat later. One by one, he smashes through the horde until only a single spider remains. With the area cleared, his first priority is not the kid, but finding his precious flavor orbs. A look of pure horror dawns on his face as he realizes none of these spiders have won. This leads him to a brilliant deduction: only special monsters carry the good stuff. Just then, a massive shadow falls over the battlefield, signaling a new arrival. And it is the mama bear of all spiders, a colossal beast towering over the nest's entrance. Sakamori's jaw drops at the sheer size of this thing, completely stunned. His foodie brain immediately connects the dots: this must be a special variant. This giant spider starts eating its fallen children, and our boy just critiques its dining habits. After an off-screen beatdown, Sakamori sits victoriously on the boss's corpse, having found his prize. Lying back, he confirms his theory with a satisfied sigh: the seasoned eggs are indeed a rare drop. He reflects that the boss spider was powerful, but its attacks were pretty easy to dodge. In contrast, the smaller ones were way faster, making the swarm a genuine hassle to deal with. Lying on the ground, his post-battle chill is interrupted by the kid he just rescued, who is absolutely overjoyed, thanking him for the heroic save from becoming spider food. This boy bows deeply, calling Sakamori his lifesaver, a title our guy is not used to. And Sakamori's first question is how he even got caught while supposedly on his way for help. This question triggers a massive "oh crap" moment as the kid remembers his urgent mission, immediately asking if Sakamori is some kind of famous adventurer, which is a fair guess. Our boy gives a very awkward "not exactly," since he is basically a professional monster eater. This kid explains his village's protector collapsed, so he was sent to find reinforcements. Then he straight up asks Sakamori to save his village, putting him right on the spot. His logic is simple: anyone who can wipe out a spider horde can definitely save a town. This whole hero thing makes Sakamori flash back to his old life as a corporate drone and a NEET. And he stares at his hand, contemplating the massive responsibility of saving an entire village. He wonders if getting all this power was some kind of destiny, a real main character moment. With a determined clench of his fist, he finally makes a decision. A confident grin appears as he agrees to give it a shot, accepting the quest. This kid is absolutely thrilled, thanking him profusely for agreeing to be their hero. But just as they are about to leave, Sakamori tells him to hold on for a second. He looks back at the giant spider corpse, deciding it would be a waste to just leave it there. With the spider family neatly piled up, Sakamori is ready to carve up the main course. He tells the kid to watch and learn, ready to grab his final, well-earned flavor orb. Except the giant spider corpse suddenly starts thrashing around. It is not dead yet, and the ground immediately gives way, sending Sakamori tumbling into a brand new problem. He tries to get in a final stomp, a truly ambitious move, while falling into a chasm. This whole cliffside collapses, dragging him and the monster down into the darkness. All the kid he just rescued can do is watch from above in total, helpless shock. Sakamori looks up, his face a perfect picture of "oh, this is bad, is not it?" Then he is just screaming as he plummets into the abyss. He finally makes impact, landing hard enough to leave his own personal crater. Sitting up, he admits that one actually hurt, which is a massive understatement. A terrifying shadow falls over him, because of course his day was not over yet. After clawing his way out of the rubble, he is just glad he was not buried alive. But he realizes this new cave looks suspiciously like the inside of that giant monster's body. His escape route is completely blocked by the cave-in, with no safe way to dig out, which means his only option is to venture deeper into the ominous darkness ahead. Resigned to his fate, he accepts that he has to press forward into the unknown. He decides to use the classic left-hand rule to navigate this underground maze. Then the guilt hits him. He just promised to be a hero and immediately got separated. He just hopes the kid stays safe until he can get out before something else grabs his attention. What catches his eye is a huge, ruined chamber with a skeleton and a very out-of-place mirror. He walks over to the mirror, completely baffled about where the hell he has even landed, which promptly gives him a jump scare when he sees his own reflection, a classic horror movie moment. And for the first time, he actually notices his white hair and the strange purple markings on his face. Our boy just shrugs it off as standard isekai weirdness, because anything goes at this point. His attention then shifts to the skeleton on the floor, which is clutching a very old book. Crouching down, he confirms they are human bones, which is a pretty grim sign for his own survival. He smugly assumes the person just wandered around until they died, a fate he finds darkly amusing. That amusement dies instantly when he realizes he is also trapped with no obvious way out. His first genius plan is to just start chucking rocks at the ceiling to break through, but he quickly realizes that is a fantastic way to get buried alive and suffocate again. Staring at his bony roommate, he accepts that staying put just means he will starve to death. That is when his eyes lock onto the book still clutched in the skeleton's hands. Figuring it might hold a clue, Sakamori decides to borrow it from its previous owner. He opens it up to find, of all things, a book written in Japanese. This leads him to the weird conclusion that someone translated a book from Earth into the local language. Flipping through the pages, he finds the real prize, a chapter literally titled "How to Use Magic." Sakamori absolutely loses his mind at the revelation that magic is actually real. For a second, he doubts a book from Japan could teach him, but then remembers his own situation. He concludes that in a world with giant monsters, a magic textbook is not that far-fetched. Sakamori's all smiles, figuring there is at least a chance this magic thing will work out. He immediately spots the qualities of a mage chapter, thinking he is struck gold. Flipping right to it, he is ready to learn the secrets of becoming a powerful wizard. And the first requirement is to be a virgin until 30, a classic internet meme. Our boy absolutely loses it, drop-kicking the book across the room in pure rage. Staring at the skeleton, he wonders what kind of troll brought this garbage here. He just concludes the poor guy was another victim of internet culture, which is just sad. But with literally nothing else to do, he picks the cursed book back up for another look. Sitting down, he decides to give this ridiculous textbook a proper read-through. He even notices the translation is unfinished, a truly half-hearted effort. Then he finds a page that just tells him to forget everything and throw the book away. Sakamori's face just screams, "Are you kidding me?" ticked off by the book's attitude. So he gleefully rips the pages to shreds, deciding he has had enough of this nonsense. He lets out a villainous laugh, feeling pretty good about destroying the troll tome. That victory high lasts about 5 seconds before he remembers he is still trapped underground. As he sulks, a single scrap of paper flutters to the floor. Suddenly, the torn page begins to glow with an intense magical light, which then activates a massive, glowing magic circle right under his feet. Sakamori is lifted into the air, completely stunned by the sudden turn of events. He just looks down at his body, having absolutely no idea what is going on. He's just standing there when a magic circle erupts, asking what the hell is going on. This light is so blinding he can barely keep his eyes open. And when it finally fades, his confusion is at an all-time high, because he has suddenly been teleported from a cave to a traditional Japanese room. Lying on the floor is a mysterious girl with ridiculously long, flowing hair, who looks up at him with a curious hem, completely unfazed by his sudden arrival. She notes that it is pretty rare for a human to just pop into her place, which does absolutely nothing to help Sakamori's already fried brain process the situation. With a smug little smile, she says she never thought a human could actually do what he did, leaving our boy standing awkwardly across the massive, empty room from her. He finally musters up the courage to ask the obvious question of who she is, and her answer is simple and not at all humble. She is a goddess. Seeing his disbelief, she offers an alternative title, the author of that troll book he just destroyed. Sakamori puts it together that ripping the page summoned him, but he is still stuck on the goddess part, so she just asks him what exactly would convince him of her divine status. Our boy says he'd be more inclined to believe her if she were a wise old man, and she takes a moment to absorb that little critique, looking thoroughly unimpressed. Then a magical aura surrounds her as she decides to grant his wish, blasting Sakamori with another blinding flash of light that catches him completely off guard, and once again he is just squinting into the glare, wondering what fresh hell this is. When the light clears, the goddess is gone, replaced by a wise old man. Talk about a glow-up. He asks what is wrong, casually explaining he just materialized this new look inside Sakamori's head. This sends our boy into a full-blown panic, realizing she can literally read his mind. She reminds him that she is a goddess and this is nothing more than a simple outfit change. But Sakamori is still calling shenanigans, accusing her of being incredibly stubborn. Tired of his skepticism, she decides to stop playing nice and appeal directly to his instincts. A crushing wave of divine energy slams down, forcing him to his knees instantly. His eyes are practically bulging out of his head in pure, unadulterated terror. This overwhelming pressure feels like it is about to flatten him into a pancake. It is a feeling beyond fear, an awe so intense he just wants to cease existing entirely. Now back in her original form, she smugly asks if he is finally convinced of her power. He struggles to his feet, finally admitting she is something completely unimaginable. She teases him for being dishonest, but says his stubbornness is exactly why he could tear up that book. That reminds him, and he immediately demands to know what that cursed book actually was. Her answer is simple, elegant, and absolutely infuriating. It was a prank. When she asks for his opinion, he admits he found it pretty mean-spirited. She then asks if he thinks anyone else from this world would have just destroyed it, and Sakamori realizes that anyone else would have treated a foreign book as a priceless treasure. They would have spent years trying to decode the Japanese, thinking it held some ancient power. But only a modern Japanese person would get the meme and be angry enough to rip it up, the perfect test. She confirms the book was a prank only a Japanese person could solve, and Sakamori calls her out for being twisted. With a dangerous glint in her eye, the goddess decides to turn the tables on him. She calls him out for being a little monster himself, bringing up a memory of him flooding an anthill as a kid. Sakamori is absolutely mortified, realizing she just peeked directly into his embarrassing childhood memories. He accuses her of reading his mind, and she just laughs like it is the most normal thing ever. Our boy immediately surrenders, calling her a cute little thing out of pure unfiltered panic. He is still trying to backpedal, hands up like he is being held at gunpoint by his own cringe. Now that he's been thoroughly humbled, she finally asks what kind of power he actually wants. Sakamori is thrown for a loop, asking if the whole point was not about getting magic from that book. She plays coy for a second before shrugging, saying magic is totally fine if that is his choice. This goddess then compares her divine prank to rereading an old diary, which he finds way too casual. He warns her to stay out of his dark past, and she just finds his human drama endlessly amusing. Getting back on track, Sakamori formally requests the power of magic, looking dead serious this time. With a pleasant smile, she agrees to grant his wish, but of course there is a catch. He is immediately hit with the news that he has to pass a trial first. She explains that since he passed her impossible prank test, she is offering him one more chance at greatness. This new gamble is simple: win the trial and he gets double the power he would have from the book. Sakamori smells a trap, thinking the offer is way too generous before asking about the failure condition. She tells him not to worry, even if he fails, he still gets the original power-up as a consolation prize. Realizing it is a no-lose situation, he clenches his fist, knowing he has to take the deal. He is immediately skeptical of her generosity, but the goddess just finds his comeback amusing. With a smug smile, she tells him not to overthink it, promising to keep things simple. This trial begins with a classic hypothetical: what is the one thing he'd want on a deserted island? His answer is pure modern-day priorities: a smartphone with unlimited battery and internet access. Without another word, a glowing orb of light just materializes in her palm, and that light solidifies into the very smartphone he just asked for. It floats gently into his hand, leaving Sakamori completely baffled by the instant delivery. His rules are simple, she explains. The longer he can hold out, the greater his reward will be. Basically, it is an endurance test with a massive power-up on the line for our boy. Looking determined, Sakamori accepts the terms of this bizarre trial without hesitation. With a massive, slightly unsettling grin, she wishes him the best of luck. Our boy just stares back, probably sensing that her good luck is actually a warning. He is instantly transported to an endless white void, realizing this is not a deserted island at all. A wide shot reveals he is just a tiny speck in an infinite, featureless white expanse. As he wanders the void, Sakamori cannot shake the feeling that he is a lab rat in an experiment. But then he remembers the one thing he brought with him: his brand new phone. A quick check confirms it has got infinite battery and a ludicrously fast internet connection. With a grin, he realizes the internet is working, which means one thing: gaming time. He kicks back, completely relaxed, thinking he could happily stay here forever. So the great trial begins with our hero just lying on his back playing a mobile game. He is passed out in a state of pure gamer bliss, phone dropped from his hand. Having already maxed out every JRPG he can think of, he has moved on to retro shooters. He does not need to eat, sleep, or even use the bathroom. This is peak human existence. And then a little text box pops up to mark the passage of time, which turns out to be a casual 10 years, a bit longer than a weekend binge. This goddess suddenly reappears, acting surprised to see him still kicking around. Sakamori snaps out of his decade-long trance, looking completely bewildered. She greets him with a breezy "long time no see," as if she did not just abandon him for a decade. Taking a closer look, she seems to be processing just how far gone he is. It hits her that our boy has completely forgotten who she is. His brain is just pure static. She is absolutely delighted, comparing him to a bug she forgot in a drawer over summer break. When she asks how long he thinks it has been, he tells her she should know since she runs this place. He guesses 10 years, and her confirmation makes his jaw hit the non-existent floor. Our boy is in complete denial, but she just challenges his disbelief with a smug little smile. So she tells him to check his precious phone, since it should have a log of its operating time. This phone sits on his lap, an unassuming black rectangle holding a decade of his life. She helpfully suggests he check the settings, because of course a divine phone tracks that. Then she teases him for being more attached to the phone than to her, and he totally agrees. He finally navigates to the settings and finds the uptime, a whopping 90,116 hours. As he panics trying to convert hours to years, the goddess just laughs her ass off at his struggle. This math checks out, and it is a horrifying 10.28 years, which sends Sakamori into a state of pure catatonic shock. Our goddess is just laughing her ass off, smugly confirming the decade-long time skip. He is still reeling from the news, and she just calls him a troublemaker for surviving. She casually mentions most people go insane in 3 days, which he totally gets, because without his phone, he would have been a screaming wreck torn apart by the sheer nothingness. Sakamori admits he only thought he could last 72 hours, even with unlimited internet. And she is delighted he thought that, once again telling him to stay out of her head. Even she is surprised, admitting she only planned for the trial to last about 10 days. With that, she just drops a casual congratulations on him, leaving the kid totally blank. His brain is still buffering when she confirms the obvious: he passed the trial. Sakamori thinks it was way too easy, and she immediately calls him out for it, mind reading again. Now for the fun part, as she asks him what kind of magic he actually wants. He takes a moment to seriously consider the possibilities, hand on his chin. His imagination runs wild with visions of him wielding every element like a total boss. But after all that, his request is simple. He wants to be the strongest human in the world. She calls that a humble wish, with a look that says he has no idea what strong means. Our boy is completely lost, wondering how that could possibly be considered humble. With a confident smile and a snap of her fingers, she agrees to make it happen. And he has already figured out the snap is just for show. She is so powerful she does not even need it. To demonstrate his new power, the goddess summons a giant lizard monster crackling with purple energy, which immediately starts casting some high-level magic with a glowing circle above its head. And Sakamori is completely floored, realizing this is what actual magic looks like in this world. A beam of pure destruction erupts from the spell, causing a massive explosion in the distance, leaving our boy absolutely speechless at the sheer scale of power on display. This goddess's voice echoes in his head, sarcastically calling his wish to be the strongest human humble. And with a smirk, Sakamori finally gets it. Strongest human is a very specific and potentially useless title. Meanwhile, another monster starts rampaging nearby, setting the whole forest on fire. which Sakamori just watches from afar, comparing the kaiju-level destruction to a kid's tantrum. He figures his new power probably does not apply to monsters and decides to just stay out of it, as the creature continues its destructive path, completely unchecked and thrashing wildly. Then he hears a crash and sees the splintered remains of what looks like a building, making him realize with horror that the monster just flattened someone's entire house. His conscience finally kicks in and he bolts towards the chaos without a second thought, literally running down the side of a cliff face with a golden aura flaring around him, leaping an impossible distance to get to the scene of the destruction below. He lands on the ground only to be startled by an unexpected sight. A little kid is standing there asking if he is the one who is okay. A quick flashback shows the kid's mother was about to be crushed by the monster's attack, and Sakamori sees the terrified child, realizing he has just stumbled right into a rescue mission. A villager stumbles out of the woods, relieved to see the kid is safe after he managed to escape. Sakamori immediately connects the dots. This rampaging lizard monster is why the kid needed help. This villager bolts, telling the kid to get everyone to evacuate the village immediately. But when Sakamori arrives, he finds the village already on fire with a different cat-like beast atop a temple. He just stares, completely stunned by the sight of the burning pyramid. And suddenly a vision hits him, a memory of a past self watching over a similar scene of ruin. In this memory, he sees robed figures leading people away as he stands by with strange purple markings. He snaps back to reality, completely thrown by the sudden, vivid flashback. Looking around, he sees terrified villagers hiding in the rubble of their homes. A family clutches each other, trapped and with nowhere left to run. Another man is just praying for his life, pinned under the wreckage. Sakamori screams at them to run, telling them hiding is completely useless. They just stare back, paralyzed by fear and probably not trusting this random screaming guy. Realizing they will not listen, he decides on a new plan. He will just move the monster himself. This giant lizard monster roars, surrounded by fire and ready to cause more destruction. So Sakamori gets its attention with a classic "Hey, big guy," and its three creepy eyes lock right onto him. He stands his ground, taunting the beast with a smirk, totally ready for this fight. But the monster ignores him and charges after a fleeing mother and child instead, forcing Sakamori to sprint after it. It is a full-on chase as the creature gains on the screaming villagers, about to chomp down. Sakamori keeps running, thinking he has successfully lured it far enough away from the village to protect everyone. Sakamori squares up with the kaiju, planning to stall it so the villagers can escape. This monster immediately tries to turn him into a pancake with a massive stomp, but our boy just dodges with a casual whoops, like he is playing a video game. He then zips past its head, basically telling the giant lizard to come at him, bro, with a mighty yo. He lands a punch that sends shockwaves right through the creature's face. And just like that, the colossal beast is knocked completely on its back, totally dazed. Sakamori is absolutely ecstatic, realizing his strongest human power actually works on monsters. Of course, the monster starts getting up because it is never that easy, is it? It lets out an earth-shattering roar, its throat glowing with some kind of sonic energy. And this sound is so intense it has Sakamori clutching his head, completely overwhelmed. This sheer force of the scream literally splinters a massive tree in half nearby. Looking back, he sees the village is still on fire and realizes everyone is hearing this. All the villagers are on the ground, screaming in agony from the psychic assault. One poor guy is completely out of it, foaming at the mouth. This is not your average tantrum. Determined to stop it, Sakamori slams his hand down, unleashing a beam of golden light. He rockets forward, a human missile aimed right between the monster's eyes. With a grimace, he winds up for another punch, ready to end this once and for all. But he is suddenly stopped by an invisible barrier, his attack doing absolutely nothing. Landing hard, he admits this is way tougher than the spider he fought before. Staring up at the giant foot, he realizes he is getting nowhere and he just finished his trial. Sakamori powers up, markings glowing, and decides it is time to stop holding back. With a determined snarl, he throws a punch that should absolutely level a mountain. But as he attacks, this weird chain and gear effect pops up around him again. And our boy is completely shocked when his punch just stops dead in its tracks. This monster's leg tanks the hit like it is nothing, not even a single scratch on it, which sends the beast skidding back, but it is clearly more annoyed than actually hurt. A massive shockwave still erupts from the impact, tearing through the forest, leaving Sakamori on the ground, complaining that he actually broke a bone from that punch. He is completely baffled, replaying the moment and wondering what the hell just happened. Frustrated, he pushes himself back up, not ready to give up just yet. This ground explodes again as the fight continues with another heavy, earth-shaking impact. He goes for another punch on the monster's tail and the chains immediately appear, followed by a kick that also seems to be held back by this invisible force. Landing hard, he is just staring at his own limbs, totally confused by this sudden nerf. It finally clicks that every time he tries to go full power, something is actively blocking him. Looking back at the terrified villagers, he knows he has to stop this thing, power limiter or not. This monster's claw comes crashing down, showing it is not waiting for him to sort his issues out. Sakamori gets launched into the sky, sent flying by the sheer force of the blow. While airborne, he winds up for a desperate counterattack, letting out a massive war cry. But once again, those damn chains materialize, binding his power when he needs it most. A sudden, horrifying realization hits Sakamori as he stares up at the beast, because that giant lizard is charging up another one of those insane magic attacks. With his markings flaring, he knows he is completely outmatched by this thing, and the creature unleashes a massive beam of pure destruction right at him. This attack slams into the ground, creating a cataclysmic explosion of energy, leaving behind a massive, smoking crater where he was just standing. In the center of it all, Sakamori admits the monster totally predicted his hesitation, and despite the smirk, he has absolutely no idea how to actually win this fight. Suddenly, the goddess just appears in a flash of light with a cheerful "my bad. Our boy is totally lost," and she just says it is easier to show him the problem. So she grabs his wrist for a little hands-on, probably not safe demonstration. A massive burst of golden energy launches them both straight up into the sky. Rocketing so high they become just a tiny speck of light above the battlefield. Down below, the monster just stares up, probably wondering where its chew toy went. Even a completely different long-necked monster is drawn to the massive pillar of light, which seems to have originated from this insane swirling chasm carved into the earth. Back on the ground, Sakamori stares at his hand in utter disbelief, asking what happened. His face a mask of pure shock as the markings on his skin start to flicker. Looking at his arm, he realizes the power-up patterns are literally fading away. This goddess explains the marks were a sacrifice's crest that vanished when the predator did. Sakamori is just trying to process his defeat when the goddess asks why he is the one here. She reminds him she is a goddess who can go anywhere, but he just wants to know her actual purpose. With a cheerful pose, she announces there are 3 very important reasons for her little visit. First, his body got clogged with too much power and she is here to perform some divine maintenance. She acts like this is the kindest thing anyone's ever done, and he just asks for reason number 2, which is of course that she is just incredibly, profoundly bored, a truly comforting motive. Sakamori totally saw that coming and she immediately calls him out for it by reading his mind. For the grand finale, she snaps her fingers, ready to reveal the third and final point. This trial, she explains, was all about endurance. The longer he held out, the more power he'd get. A light bulb goes off for Sakamori as he realizes he has not actually surrendered yet. This goddess smugly confirms his realization, acting like this was her plan all along. He complains that her rules are way too vague, but she just finds his frustration hilarious. She claims she came to ask about his surrender, which he points out is a little late now. Laughing hysterically, she agrees he is right, as he mutters that she is not thinking at all. So now she's just decided to watch his struggle from the front row for her own amusement. Getting back on track, Sakamori asks if they can fix his power, mentioning he has earned 10 years worth. This 10 years of power is hilariously visualized by him just chilling on the ground, kicking his feet. He clarifies that as long as he does not give up, his power will just keep growing forever. This goddess agrees to be his personal audience for this endless trial, which he seems to accept. She then offers to be his consultation partner, but with a major catch: she will only help him once. She promises to keep him alive just to watch him struggle, and he is just like, "So this is all for you, huh?" Sakamori flips it around, asking with a grin what is in it for him if he puts on an even better show. Intrigued by his nerve, she actually wonders what kind of blessing she should give him, but their divine negotiation is cut short by the kid from the village running up to them. Standing on a ledge, they look down as the kid asks if he really defeated the giant monster. Our boy just casually confirms it. Yeah, he took care of the big guy, no big deal. This kid is just completely overwhelmed with gratitude, crying his eyes out in sheer relief. He grabs Sakamori's hands, calling him the village's savior and official benefactor. Suddenly, Sakamori flashes back to his old life where his bosses called him totally incompetent. Another memory hits of a coworker calling him a worthless bug who should just crawl. This kid's genuinely happy face, however, pulls him right back to the present moment. For the first time, Sakamori cracks a small, genuine smile, actually moved by the thanks. He tells the kid that it is good to hear, looking truly at peace for a second. Eagerly, the kid invites him to the village so everyone can thank him properly. Sakamori hesitates, probably remembering the village is currently a smoldering pile of rubble. Meanwhile, the goddess just watches this whole wholesome exchange with a smug little smile. This kid just looks up at him with pure, hopeful admiration, waiting for an answer. It then dawns on Sakamori that the kid is looking right through the goddess, like she is not even there. She helpfully explains that mortals cannot perceive her true form, which is super convenient. When he asks if her voice is also undetectable, the kid gets confused, so Sakamori just plays it cool. With the monster gone, they survey the absolute wreckage of the village. This kid explains their whole system. The monster was a forest lord appeased by sacrifices. Apparently the beast just snapped, killed the chief, and the kid thinks it is his fault for escaping. Sakamori pieces it together, realizing the chief must have had a power to summon these sacrifices. With a heavy heart, the kid confirms their chief was an incredible person unlike them. He is grateful everyone's alive, but their homes, fields, and leader are all gone now. Now the kid is just completely dejected, with no clue how they are supposed to move forward. Our boy feels super awkward, admitting he cannot exactly fix a whole town for them. This goddess chimes in, asking if he actually enjoys being thanked by these mortals. He stammers that yeah, it is nice, while the kid just wonders who the hell he is talking to. Smirking, she decides she wants some of that gratitude and tells him to copy her little trick. She demonstrates with a finger snap, leaving Sakamori totally confused about what to do. So he gives it a try, awkwardly snapping his fingers just like she did. A massive wave of golden energy suddenly erupts, washing over the entire ruined village. This divine light starts lifting debris and literally reversing all the destruction. In seconds, the entire village is being magically rebuilt right before their very eyes. All the villagers are just standing there with their jaws on the floor, completely freaking out. Sakamori stares at his hand, having absolutely no idea what he just did. And just like that, the village is perfectly restored, sparkling like it is brand new. This kid turns to him, his mind totally blown, asking if that was all Sakamori's doing. Sakamori tries to deny it, stammering that this is all some kind of mistake. But the villagers are already losing their minds, screaming that this is absolutely incredible. Crying their eyes out, they hail him as their savior and pledge to follow him forever. Even the little kids swarm him, grabbing his hands and calling him their big brother. This goddess smugly tells him to hold his head high, it is his blessing for amusing her. With a knowing look, she clarifies that this power is now officially his to wield. Our boy is just standing there completely stunned, actually processing what just happened. And the village is just sparkling, looking pristine and brand new under the sunset. Looking on in total awe, the kid finally realizes Sakamori was behind the whole miracle. In an instant, he is surrounded by the entire village, literally glowing with hero energy. Every single person is just staring at him with pure, unadulterated adoration on their faces. So he just leans into it, coolly confirming that yeah, it was all his doing. Which of course makes the entire crowd go absolutely ballistic with cheers. This kid immediately calls for a feast, telling everyone to break out the good sake for him. His divine partner teases him for accepting, asking if modesty is a virtue back home. Sakamori claps back, reminding her she is the one who conveniently forgot about his surrender. He then schools her, saying you should always accept goodwill honestly, right? She just bursts out laughing, admitting that he has absolutely got her there. Still cackling, she calls him an interesting one, noting it is hard work being this entertaining. And she promises that as long as he keeps it up, she will grant him more appropriate blessings. Sakamori calls her out for her terrible personality, and she just says he is misunderstanding things. And of course, his big takeaway is that he is basically on the path to godhood now. Down in the newly rebuilt village, a massive feast is kicking off in his honor. This whole town is getting into it, with women bringing out food and guys on the drums. They sit Sakamori down in front of a feast that could feed a small army, no pressure. He is totally geeking out, realizing he is living the full isekai dream with a village feast. This kid who first found him encourages him to eat up, saying this is all for him. A couple of the village elders step up to give their heartfelt thanks for saving them all. Even the women are crying with gratitude, thanking him over and over again. This entire village gathers around him, just showering him with pure, unadulterated gratitude. This hits him hard as he flashes back to his old bosses, calling him a useless insect. He realizes that in his entire past life, no one ever thanked him for working hard. Then a group of little kids shyly approaches, calling him their big brother. One little girl gives him the most genuine, heartwarming thank you he has ever heard. And for the first time, Sakamori looks genuinely, truly happy, just soaking it all in. As the kids run off, he thinks to himself that he is the one who should be grateful. This celebration rages on, with the whole village ready to party all night long. Morning comes way too soon, with the sun rising over the peaceful village. Our boy wakes up feeling absolutely wrecked, complaining about his first ever fantasy world hangover. His morning gets infinitely worse when he opens his eyes to the goddess using his chest as a chair. He calls her out for being so bored she is literally dancing on his nerves. This next morning, his hangover is interrupted by the village kid checking in on him. Our boy's too wrecked for a full meal, politely asking for just a cup of water, which the kid happily provides, bringing him a mug almost immediately. As he drinks, Sakamori confirms that hangovers are in fact a universal constant. Feeling a bit more human, he thanks the kid for saving him from his self-inflicted misery. His divine partner, however, suddenly perks up, sensing something is off. Sakamori hears it too, asking about the sudden commotion coming from outside. After a second of confusion, the kid realizes there is a serious panic breaking out. They both rush to the door to investigate, with the goddess just hitching a ride on his back. Outside, the entire village is in a full-blown stampede, screaming and running for their lives. This kid manages to grab a fleeing woman, desperately asking what is going on. She screams that they are being attacked by arachnes, a new and very unwelcome development. With a farming tool in hand, the kid's ready to fight until Sakamori asks for a quick definition. His terrified face says it all. Whatever these things are, the village's defenses are already gone. And yeah, they are giant building-sized spiders currently trashing their newly rebuilt town. This kid can only watch in horror, completely powerless against this new nightmare. But Sakamori just cracks his knuckles with a grin, telling the kid he has got this handled. One of the massive spiders locks onto him, its many eyes glowing with menace. And our boy just stands his ground, unleashing his power as he prepares to throw down. Sakamori squares up against the giant spider, ready to get down to business. With a single earth-shattering punch, he sends a shockwave that just obliterates the entire swarm. This villagers can only scream in absolute mind-blown disbelief at what they just saw. He dusts off his hands in front of a literal mountain of spider corpses. Problem solved. Playing the hero, Sakamori tells the grateful villagers to worry about the injured, not him. This kid thanks him profusely, amazed that, thanks to him, everyone made it out alive. Our boy just shrugs it off with a confident smile, saying it was nothing really. But the kid is confused, wondering why the spiders attacked when they have never come to the village before. Sakamori explains that with the forest lord gone, the whole ecosystem is collapsing. While pondering the village's safety, his real priority is digging through a spider for a seasoning egg. He pulls out a shiny golden orb, psyched that he found one on his first try. This kid, however, completely loses his mind at the sight of it. Sakamori's just like, "What, this seasoning egg?" Totally oblivious to the kid's panic. With a look of pure desperation, the kid asks if he knows how to get something called Iretia. This golden orb in his hand just glows with this immense holy light, and the kid is still just absolutely bug-eyed with shock. Sakamori, bless his heart, is still on about the seasoning egg. This kid's question about Iretia hangs in the air as the orb continues to shine. Our guy then asks if this thing is really that expensive, still thinking it is a gourmet item, which makes the kid finally snap, screaming, "You do not even know what Iretia is." Sakamori just blinks, asking what the heck an Iretia even is. This kid explains it is a super rare miracle item that cures anything and boosts vitality. His divine partner immediately asks if he wants one, clearly ready to cause some chaos. He tells her to knock it off, since mass-producing it would completely tank its value. Meanwhile, the kid is still just mesmerized by the single golden orb in his hand. When the kid asks if he wants it, Sakamori thinks he's being offered a fantasy world aphrodisiac. But the kid clarifies that with this one item, they could buy enough supplies to survive the winter. And it finally clicks for Sakamori that his seasoning egg is basically a winning lottery ticket. So he just casually offers the priceless artifact to the stunned village kid, just holding it out like it is a piece of candy, no big deal whatsoever. Which causes the kid to have a complete meltdown, screaming his head off in disbelief. Sakamori just shrugs it off as a simple seasoning, earning some tearful, heartfelt gratitude. And just like that, the entire village is celebrating him as their savior all over again. But then both he and the goddess sense something approaching, cutting the party short. This mood shifts as a heavy carriage wheel rolls along the dirt path toward them. A full-on noble's carriage with an armed escort is making its way to their village. One of the villagers recognizes it as the Lord's carriage, and nobody looks happy about it. It pulls right up to the village entrance, leaving everyone wondering why they are here. These villagers are all frozen in place, their faces filled with absolute dread. Then a guard steps forward and knocks on the carriage door, announcing someone's arrival. And out of the carriage steps some pompous-looking dude, clearly the Lord's official tax collector. He gets straight to business, asking a village elder if their chief is dead, real sensitive guy. This sends a ripple of shock through the crowd, who are baffled as to how he knew. This official smugly explains he has magical contracts that basically ping him whenever a chief kicks the bucket. Sakamori immediately clocks this as some kind of fantasy world legal trap. This guy then announces he does not care who the next chief is, so long as they can manage the taxes. An elder tries to protest, but the official just shuts him down, asking why he should care. Our boy gets a nasty flashback, realizing this guy has the exact same energy as his scummy old CEO. This official lays it on thick, acting like he has done nothing wrong by demanding they pay up. Suddenly, the villagers push the kid with the Iretia forward, right into the official's line of sight. He immediately grabs the kid's arm, violently demanding to see the priceless orb. After a quick inspection, a greedy glint appears in his eye as he confirms it is the real deal. His gaze then shifts to the mountain of dead spiders, clearly connecting the dots. He turns back to the villagers with some fake praise, calling them amazing for their little miracle. Holding the Iretia, he mockingly apologizes for ever doubting this backwater town could produce such a treasure. Then comes the bombshell. He is changing their tax to 1 Iretia per month, effective immediately. This kid and the entire village just stare in absolute horror at the impossible demand. Even Sakamori is furious, realizing they are being asked to pay a winter's worth of supplies every 30 days. This villagers cry out that it is tyranny, since finding even one a year is a miracle. But the official just screams for silence, reminding them they are basically his property on his land. This official stomps his foot, lecturing them about how this land nourishes them right before he bleeds them dry. He shoves an elder to the ground, telling him to know his place as property of the rightful owner. With the old man down, he fake laments how he will not be able to collect taxes from them, because if they refuse, he will just have them all killed to follow their dead chief. This guy is really leaning into the whole foot-on-your-neck villain monologue. His goons draw their swords to back up the threat, asking if the villagers want to die. And he has got this incredibly punchable, self-satisfied smirk on his face the whole time. This entire village is just frozen in absolute terror, unable to say a single word. But the collector's little power trip is interrupted by someone new stepping into his view. Sakamori calmly steps forward, asking him to clarify the contract he mentioned earlier. He lays out the basics. If the villagers pay taxes, what exactly does the Lord do for them in return? For a second, the official is just stunned silent, not used to being questioned by the help. He calls Sakamori an outsider while our boy helps the fallen elder to his feet. Sakamori presses on, saying if the terms cannot be explained to a third party, it must mean the contract is pretty shameful, which really gets under the guy's skin. So the collector throws a fit, grandly declaring he will explain the honor of their duties. Our boy is just like, duties, completely unimpressed by the theatrics. And here is the big reveal: their duty is to be grateful he lets them live on his land, that is it. He goes on a full-blown rant about how they are his dogs and should be thankful for their scraps. Sakamori just says, "I see," then immediately clenches his fist and decks the guy right in the jaw. Sakamori delivers a full-power kick, launching the tax collector straight into the stratosphere. That pompous official goes spinning through the air like a cartoon character, a truly satisfying sight. With a stone-cold glare, our boy makes it clear the negotiations are officially over. This collector's goons can only watch in horror as their boss face plants hard into the dirt. Before they can even react, Sakamori just blitzes through the entire squad in a flash. He dusts off his hands over their unconscious bodies, casually noting they were weaker than the spiders. Standing amidst the carnage, he looks completely unfazed by his own handiwork for a second, until the post-punch clarity hits and he starts screaming, realizing he acted on pure, unthinking rage. His mind races, knowing the villagers will face retaliation unless he can make himself the sole target. After a moment of panic, he just accepts it, admitting he hated the guy from the start anyway. Just then, the village kid approaches him, cautiously getting his attention. Backed by the other villagers, the kid asks if Sakamori will lend them his strength for a bigger fight. Their goal is nothing short of total independence from the tyrant currently knocked out on the ground. With desperate hope in his eyes, the kid pleads for his help to secure their future. Sakamori is just stunned by the word independence. That is a pretty big ask. This kid explains the system. They can break free from a corrupt lord if a powerful person leads them. Apparently, they can even band together with other villages to appoint a whole new feudal lord. And it finally clicks for Sakamori, this is a different world with completely different rules. He flashes back to his old life, realizing he is finally free from bowing to scummy bosses. With newfound resolve, he clenches his fist, ready to take on this new role. With a new fire in his eyes, Sakamori accepts his role as the village's new leader. Pompous official and his cronies are all tied up, forced to face their new boss, Sakamori. Our boy crosses his arms, wondering what the heck he is supposed to do with these guys now. From the ground, the bruised collector immediately tries to bribe him, asking for his price. Sakamori is just completely thrown, having no idea what the guy is even talking about. Desperate, the official promises to pay any amount, clearly thinking this is just a shakedown. When Sakamori says it is not about a ransom, the collector is just baffled by the concept. This refusal to play along sends the official into a rage, accusing Sakamori of mocking him. Even the village kid is confused, wondering why this dude is having a meltdown over not being extorted. His divine partner explains that for nobles, paying a huge ransom is a status symbol, a truly twisted flex. Sakamori just scoffs, completely unable to understand the logic of these prideful idiots. This kid knows that money will not fix anything, the Lord would just find another way to crush them. While they both ponder how to secure independence, Sakamori gets a brilliant, petty idea. A light bulb goes off as he asks a very important question: what is the local currency? This village kid, still catching up, tells him the currency is called cells. After confirming that one cell is the smallest unit, Sakamori's plan is officially ready to go. He turns to the still smug collector, announcing he has decided on the ransom amount. With the most troll-tastic smile ever, he demands the grand total of one single cell. This tax collector's brain completely short-circuits at the demand of a single cell. All the villagers are just as stunned, their minds collectively blown by the absurdly low ransom. Sakamori just confirms it with a casual smile, repeating that the price is indeed one cell. This pompous official immediately takes it as a massive insult, his face twisting in pure fury. Waving him off, our boy says the offer stands and to let him know when he is ready to pay up. His divine partner, watching from the sidelines, is understandably curious about this bizarre strategy. He explains the simple but devastating logic behind his plan as she floats beside him. It is a perfect trap with two options. Admit he is only worth one cell, or admit he cannot even afford that. Both of them are in perfect sync, knowing this is the ultimate checkmate for a prideful fool. Sakamori knows this type of person all too well, flashing back to his scummy corporate bosses. For a man obsessed with his public image, either choice is a catastrophic blow to his ego. This goddess then asks the logical question: what if he just refuses to play the game at all? But Sakamori is completely sure of himself, positive the guy's pride will not even let him think of that. She gets his attention, calling him adventurer with a curious little poke. Just then, a villager runs up shouting that the collector has already cracked, begging to pay the one cell. Our boy is just like, wow, that was fast, and tells the villager he is on his way. He knew this guy was all bark and no bite, the kind of person who only spares people to exploit them. Once a bully like that is tied up and has to endure even a little suffering, they fold instantly. This collector's sweaty, grimacing face is proof that he cannot handle the slightest bit of discomfort. With a wicked grin, Sakamori declares the real fun starts now, earning a laugh from his genius-praising partner. Sakamori lays out the terms to the captive audience: pay the one cell ransom and you can all walk. But the collector throws a fit, insulted that anyone would think a refined noble carries pocket change. Our boy just finds it hilarious that this guy is still acting high and mighty while tied up on the ground. Since the official has no cash, Sakamori offers a simple alternative: just write him an IU. This collector is stunned by the suggestion of a promissory note, but Sakamori confirms it is the deal. Suddenly, this guy is all smiles, thinking he has found an easy way to weasel out of the humiliation. Sakamori puts on the most devious, troll-tastic grin imaginable, clearly enjoying every second of this. He then asks for a pen and paper, and the village kid says he knows where to find some. A nice piece of parchment is brought out, ready for the official signing ceremony. Then comes the twist: no pen, so the collector will have to sign it in blood, much to his horror. Sakamori taunts him, saying he is free to go buy a pen himself if he'd rather not. This kid helpfully points out that the nearest town is a 6-day round trip on foot. Actually, scratch that, it is more like a full week, a whole week of being tied up and miserable. Faced with that lovely prospect, the collector immediately folds, screaming that he will do it. Someone then hands him a small knife to get the ink ready for his signature. When the village kid worries about giving a captive a weapon, Sakamori tells him it is totally fine. This collector is clearly thinking about trying something stupid with that blade. But Sakamori reveals the final checkmate. If he acts up, they will just tell everyone his lord is too broke to pay a 1 cell ransom. Besides, our boy adds, it is not like a little knife would even make a difference against him anyway. And with that, the collector is left with his rope, his knife, and his absolutely shattered pride. Sakamori tells the collector to get on with it and sign the IOU with his own blood. This guy's face is a masterpiece of pure, unadulterated rage at the humiliation. But then with a snap, the collector seems to have an idea, or maybe he just broke. Our boy just watches on, completely unfazed by the villain's little meltdown. Meanwhile, the entire village is collectively losing their minds over this whole situation. This collector, now standing tall, grandly orders his ropes to be untied, acting like he is one. Everyone is just like, huh, completely baffled by this sudden shift in attitude. Turns out, the guy is refusing to use his own noble blood to sign the note. What a diva. So he just uses one of his goons as a living inkwell instead. Problem solved, I guess. Sakamori cheerfully takes the signed IOU and hands it over to the village kid for safekeeping. When the kid asks if he should check it, our boy casually says there is no need at all. He loudly explains that if it is fake, they will just tell everyone the lord is too broke to pay 1 cell. His goddess partner then points out the hilarious truth: Sakamori cannot even read the language anyway. With the deal done, the ropes are left behind on the dusty ground. As they leave, the collector screams empty threats while Sakamori gives him a friendly wave goodbye. This village kid is still worried, asking if a simple piece of paper is really enough protection, but Sakamori explains this promissory note is now the village's ultimate barrier. He knew from the start this guy was obsessed with his public image and reputation. This collector's worst nightmare is the world finding out his life was valued at a single cell. And the villagers finally get it. That kind of shame would destroy his authority completely. Sakamori explains that the blood sign note is their ultimate proof, and while it is only for 1 cell, the psychological damage is absolutely priceless. This village kid is just overcome with emotion, hailing him as their incredible savior. With their new hero standing before them, the entire village just erupts in cheers. Meanwhile, his divine partner is absolutely losing it, laughing her head off at his genius. Now that the party's over, Sakamori announces their next big goal: raising funds for independence. Later, he and his floating partner take a stroll down a forest path to clear his head. Our boy runs a hand through his hair, complaining that it is getting annoyingly long. She just zips around him, teasing him about the trivial problems of being human. To prove her point, she shows off her perfect, divinely controlled hair. What a flex. After some thought, he admits you do not know what you have got till it is gone. Impressed, she offers him the ultimate blessing, a lifetime guarantee against going bald. Sakamori immediately bows in deep, sincere gratitude. This is the most important thing ever. She promises to protect his hairline forever, making him wonder about the offering costs. Suddenly, his attention snaps to a stray spider lurking in the bushes. With a casual yo, he just sprints straight towards the monster without a second thought. He delivers a single devastating punch that completely obliterates the creature. Standing over the remains, he notes that whatever he was looking for is not here either, but he is shocked to find that the spider dropped something incredibly valuable. His partner explains it is a rare, high-energy compound, basically a monster guts protein shake. His partner explains these compounds are basically super-concentrated nutrients found inside certain creatures. This special substance is called alentia, and it is an incredibly rare monster drop. Sakamori immediately panics, thinking it is some kind of deadly poison, but she just laughs it off. Turns out it is so potent it just acts like a fantasy world aphrodisiac instead. Wait, what? He realizes he has been exposed before, and she confirms his body has already built up a resistance. She calls him lucky for finding so many rare monsters, but he is not so sure about that assessment. Just then, another lucky find appears in the form of a giant, very angry-looking spider. With a single explosive punch, he takes care of the new problem immediately. But the spider's corpse does not have the drop he is looking for, much to his disappointment. He keeps searching the remains, but it seems like this one was a total dud. After a bit more digging, he finally finds the tiny, glowing orb he was after. As he pockets his prize, his partner asks if he is not going to chow down on it. Our boy declares these are military supplies, imagining a future funded by monster guts. To achieve independence, he explains, the village is going to need a whole lot of weapons. Since they have no trained soldiers, giving everyone proper gear is the next best thing. His goddess partner then changes the subject, asking why he only ever fights up close. Sakamori is just completely baffled by the question, having no idea what she means. As she clarifies, he starts gathering a ball of crackling energy in his palm to demonstrate. He then unleashes a massive energy wave that carves a huge trench straight through the forest. And the blast erupts into the sky, proving he's got more than just punches in his arsenal. This aftermath of his blast is a massive pillar of light that just tore a hole in the sky. Sakamori just stares at his hand like, oops, while his partner casually says that is just how it is. She teases him about not being able to control his power, so he asks if she can control hers. Taking that as a personal attack, she declares she will show him the true power of a god. And her divine power is a tiny energy poke right to his nipple, which is just incredible. While he is yelling about how that is not fan service, she is just dying of laughter in the background. He tells her to stop wasting her energy on stupid pranks, but she is clearly having too much fun. Just then, another massive spider monster blocks their path because of course it does. His partner smugly points out that maybe, just maybe, it is because he blew up their nest. Getting serious, Sakamori prepares his hand for a more focused kind of attack this time. He visualizes controlling his power like turning a faucet, trying to adjust the flow instead of just blasting. She eagerly encourages him to give it a shot, clearly excited to see what happens next. This spider seems just as eager for a fight, screeching as it charges straight at them. Sakamori concentrates, telling himself to focus as he aims his palm at the incoming threat. A small, super-condensed ball of energy starts crackling to life in his hand. Instead of a huge wave, he fires a thin, precise laser beam straight from his palm. This beam shoots across the path, heading directly for the monster's face, perfect aim. It makes direct contact with the spider's fangs, and the creature does not even have time to react. This monster's head just completely explodes into a gory mess. Talk about a critical hit. Sakamori himself is thrown back, totally shocked by the sheer force of his own focused attack. This sheer force of his own laser sends Sakamori flying right onto his back, and then it starts raining spider guts all over him, a truly disgusting victory shower. So now he is stuck washing off monster bits in a lake, complaining about his power control. While scrubbing himself with a handful of weeds, he grumbles about his lack of finesse. His partner, of course, calls this a fan service scene, which he immediately shoots down. She then tries to get a reaction by reminding him she is a woman, just in case he forgot. But our boy is just so over it, saying he cannot exactly hide his thoughts from her anyway. She absolutely loves that comeback, awarding him bonus points for the solid burn. Still annoyed by his wet hair, Sakamori decides it is time for a little field haircut. As he wrings out his clothes, his partner wonders what on earth he is planning now. He just whips out a knife and cheerfully announces he is giving himself a trim. With the blade poised, he gets ready to snip off an annoying lock of hair. This second the knife touches his hair, there is a massive flash of pure energy, which immediately erupts into a huge explosion right in his face. What could go wrong? And the result is a new, extremely spiky hairdo that has him completely baffled. His partner finally explains that his hair releases energy, a fact that would have been useful earlier. Apparently, it has some kind of special biological concentration stored inside it. She basically tells him he is a total anomaly in this world, which is not exactly news. Elsewhere, some fancy-looking new guy with a pet lizard casually inspects a coin. And back in the forest, another giant spider comes charging down the path, ready for round 3. With the next giant spider on its way, Sakamori taunts it into charging straight at him. He then calmly plucks a single strand of his explosive new hair, a plan clearly forming. Crouching down with a confident smirk, he gets ready to test out his bizarre new weapon. Using a fallen log for leverage, he prepares to launch his tiny, volatile projectile. This single hair goes flying through the air, aimed directly at the rampaging monster. It lands perfectly in the spider's path just as its massive leg comes crashing down, and the strand detonates with incredible force, engulfing the creature in a huge explosion. This spider's leg is just completely shredded, leaving the monster crippled and reeling. His partner asks if he has finally figured out the pattern for what makes his hair go boom. Sakamori explains that hair only explodes if it is cut or pulled, while naturally shed strands are duds. She cheerfully calls his fallen hair useless, a phrasing that he finds just a little too real. This revelation just makes him bow again, eternally grateful for her anti-baldness blessing. Now that he knows the rules, he starts thinking about how to weaponize his explosive follicles. He realizes there is a problem: the hair explodes after a certain time or with a strong impact. But the main issue is that, despite its power, it is still just a single, flimsy strand of hair. When he tries to throw it like a weapon, it just flutters pathetically through the air. He concludes it is basically just a weak landmine, making it incredibly difficult to use effectively. His partner then casually asks if it is really okay for him to be holding onto that thing. She reminds him about the timer, and he panics as the hair in his hand starts to glow. He chucks it just in time for it to explode in the distance, yelling at her for the late warning. After his explosive adventure, Sakamori finally makes his way back to the village. He grumbles about nearly getting hurt by his own hand, while his partner is just dying of laughter. That village kid from before spots him right away, giving him a hero's welcome home. It turns out all the commotion is because the weapons they ordered have finally arrived, and it is a whole spread of swords, spears, and daggers for their brand new militia. Sakamori confirms with the kid that this is the shipment, trying to get a read on things. A smug-looking merchant named Basil stands proudly over the delivery. Basil immediately sizes him up, skeptically asking if this kid is the new village chief. Trying to be diplomatic, Sakamori introduces himself and offers a handshake, but the merchant just gives him a dead-eyed stare. A handshake is clearly beneath him. This guy's eyes narrow as he scrutinizes our boy from head to toe. And he immediately clocks Sakamori as a total outsider, which is definitely not a compliment. Sakamori admits that is the case, feeling the distinctly unwelcoming vibe from the merchant. Basil just shrugs, saying as long as the money's good, he could not care less. This kid then asks if the trade went smoothly, revealing they paid with the rare Alencia. Our boy plays it cool, assuring him they got the weapons and everything's fine. But a closer look at his face shows he has already spotted a major problem. He points out that for what they paid, the quality of this gear is absolute junk. This is brand new information to the kid, who just looks completely stunned. Basil just scoffs, claiming for this much iron, it is standard quality basically. Deal with it. This village kid is totally amazed by all the new weapons, but Sakamori's already got his thinking face on. He is trying to figure out why the merchant is so hostile when the trade rate itself seems fair. Basil immediately gets defensive, telling them to just cancel the deal if they are not happy. This guy then whines about coming all the way out here, acting like he is the one losing out on this deal. Sakamori instantly realizes the problem. The merchant sees this as a one-time ripoff, not a long-term partnership. In Basil's mind, a bunch of small, reliable deals are way better than one big score from some nobodies. He even condescendingly explains that remote folks would not understand his superior business sense. This merchant claims items this rare are a pain to deal with anyway, so he is not invested in a fair price. It is all just a monologue about how one-off opportunities with Hicks are not worth his full attention. A sudden look of enlightenment hits Sakamori's face, while the kid just frets about what to do. Our boy then calmly asks the kid if they know any other merchants, a perfect way to call the bluff. Basil just scoffs, smugly insisting that no one else would value their Alentia any differently, and that is when Sakamori pulls out 2 more glowing orbs, completely flipping the script. This merchant's jaw just hits the floor, his brain short-circuiting at the sight of more treasure. Even the village kid is stunned, recognizing the impossible wealth in Sakamori's hand. With a confident smile, Sakamori calls it today's share, implying this is a regular occurrence. He then hands the 2 new orbs over to the kid, right in front of the greedy merchant's face. Basil is absolutely losing it, sputtering today's, as his entire worldview shatters. Sakamori tells the kid to use these to secure food supplies since they will need reserves for the war. But the kid is still hesitant, worried about backing out of the deal with Basil now. Sakamori casually tells the kid not to sweat it since they can get Alentia whenever they want. This news absolutely shatters Basil's brain, sending him into a full-blown panic attack. This greedy merchant is literally shaking in his boots, realizing the fortune he just tried to swindle. And just like that, his entire demeanor flips from smug jerk to the world's most eager bootlicker. He is suddenly offering to arrange food supplies, desperately trying to get back in their good graces. Sweating profusely, Basil asks if he perhaps misjudged their financial situation. Sakamori gets right in his face, calling him out for underestimating them so badly. Trying to save face, the merchant stammers through a weak attempt to regain composure. He finally gets to the point, asking how much they are willing to trade. He is all ears now. But Sakamori lays down the law, explaining that for a big deal they will need competitive quotes. He then asks the kid about other merchants, and the kid conveniently knows another guy. As Sakamori tells him to make the call, Basil in the background looks like he is about to faint. Leaning in with a terrifyingly friendly smile, our boy asks the cornered merchant for an estimate. He then twists the knife, saying it is totally fine if Basil does not want to, no pressure. With a confident grin, Sakamori adds that they will be just fine without him anyway. Basil can barely even form words, completely broken by this masterclass in negotiation. This guy just hangs his head in utter defeat, the sound of his career crumbling around him. Having secured a much better deal, Sakamori waves goodbye as the merchant's cart trundles away. His partner pops up, praising the satisfying takedown but noting there was a deeper reason. Sakamori explains that a merchant who looks down on his clients is bad for business, no matter the deal. Sakamori explains that his real reason for the takedown was not just for show. His partner points out that by getting angry, he almost lost them a huge client. But he is focused on the bigger picture, the coming fight for this village's independence. Looking at the villagers, he sees they are not warriors, just ordinary people holding weapons. Little kids are playing soldier while their parents are justifiably terrified. Even the old men are shaking, barely able to lift a sword. Sakamori knows he cannot just entrust their lives to anyone, especially not to some second-rate merchant selling them shoddy gear. This gravity of their struggle for freedom is hitting him hard. These people are completely out of their depth with these new weapons. He realizes their very innocence is what is at stake here. And sending them to fight with junk would be a death sentence. This whole thing reinforces his decision. He has to be the one to ensure their survival. His partner just watches, knowing he is fully committed now. After all that, they finally arrive at the village chief's house. This exterior decorations are a little questionable. Skulls are never a good sign. He politely announces their intrusion as he pushes open the door, only to find a full-on wizard's workshop complete with a magic circle. Our boy is just stunned, muttering that this is something else entirely. Just then, the villagers arrive to officially name him their new chief and give him the house. Sakamori surveys his new digs, realizing cleaning is a massive understatement for this horror show. This first order of business is yeeting a bunch of cursed-looking junk out the window. His partner then offers to help, a concept he can barely even process. She explains that since she lives here too, his constant grumpiness is killing her vibe. Gratefully, he accepts her help, and she is all too happy to get started on their new home. With a mischievous grin and a snap of her fingers, she unleashes her idea of cleaning, which apparently involves summoning an ancient CRT television out of thin air. A traditional-looking ceiling light fixture materializes next, adding to the mounting confusion. And just like that, the creepy hut transforms into a full-blown Japanese-style tatami room. Sakamori is just completely floored, mostly by the random TV in his new fantasy home. She just casually confirms she pulled the entire room design right out of his head. Then she drops the real bombshell: the prehistoric television actually works. Eager to show off, she tells him to watch as she works her magic again. This screen flickers to life with a classic dramatic sparkle. revealing a live feed of him standing there, which only deepens his confusion. She calls it a live broadcast, adding that he is more entertaining than any actual show. But wait, there is more. She snaps her fingers to activate another bizarre feature. His reflection on the screen starts to look a little different. Suddenly, he is a blocky, low-poly video game character and his brain just short-circuits. He is weirdly hyped about the real-time CG, deciding the terrible graphics fit the retro aesthetic. Sakamori notes the blocky graphics match the room's quality, a truly bizarre compliment. He runs his hand along the floor, feeling the authentic texture of the tatami, and he is genuinely shocked to find a perfect Japanese-style room in this fantasy world. His partner explains that aside from the TV, all the materials are totally common here. This makes Sakamori realize the whole setup is actually plausible with local resources. She offers to change it all back, but he is already way too attached to his new home base. His mind immediately snaps back to business, already planning his next negotiation strategy. He is focused on identifying the absolute worst-case scenario they need to avoid at all costs. His partner guesses it is getting stuck with the shoddy weapons, but that is not it. Sakamori points out that is bad, but at least they can check the gear before a battle. This true nightmare is a far more subtle kind of corporate backstabbing. He says the worst thing is when a partner cancels a deal right in the middle of it. She reads his mind again, calling out his corporate slave trauma, and he can only agree. He is thinking of classic black company tactics like advertising salaries that are pure fiction. It is the oldest trick in the book: lure people in with big promises only a few ever see. This real trap, he explains, is being left to fend for yourself after they have got you hooked. All this leads to one critical insight: they need a stable, continuous contract, not a one-off deal. Just then, a knock at the door interrupts his business-themed PTSD session. This village kid peeks inside and is completely stunned by the hut's sudden glow-up. His partner just casually says she remodeled to make it more livable, a massive understatement. With the kid still in awe of the new room, Sakamori's partner decides it is question time. This boy asks about the old chief's contract with the Lord, remembering it had some kind of magical power. He nervously explains that the deal is supposedly enforced by magic, which is never a good sign. Sakamori immediately puts his thinking cap back on. A magically binding contract is a huge problem. He asks if there is a document, but the kid says the old chief kept all that stuff to himself. A light bulb goes off for our boy. If it is important, it has to be hidden somewhere in this very room. This kid is still just standing at the door, completely baffled by the TV and tatami mats. A sudden look of pure dread washes over Sakamori's face as he realizes a critical error. He just remembered his partners cleaning, probably buried or teleported whatever they are looking for. She meanwhile is just cackling at whatever's playing on the prehistoric television. Even she looks a little shocked by the program, which is definitely a bad omen. She offers to change the room back to its original state, and Sakamori screams a mental yes. In a flash, the creepy hut returns and he asks what the old chief's most prized possession was. This kid says it was a skull, and Sakamori just smiles, finding that incredibly on brand for the guy. So begins the search, starting with shelves full of questionable potions and dusty bottles. They continue rummaging through old books, crates, and barrels looking for anything skull-shaped. Frustrated, Sakamori complains that something so important should be easier to find, and that is when he remembers the winged skull he chucked out the window earlier. He rushes outside to the pile of junk he so gleefully yeeted, desperately digging through it. And there it is, he finds the skull, which seems to be a container for the contract. Holding the skull, Sakamori figures the contract has to be inside, but this thing is sealed tight and he is struggling to pry it open. Seriously, this thing will not budge. It is like it is magically sealed. And just like that, a massive pillar of dark energy erupts from the skull, summoning a terrifying skeletal mage, the guardian of the contract, no doubt. Our boy is understandably freaking out, not expecting a boss fight right now. This thing just glares down, holding the skull like it is daring him to try something. Wasting no time, the guardian swings its massive scythe right at him. So he throws up a hand, conjuring some kind of dark energy shield to block, which manifests as a massive pillar of ice erupting from the ground, completely dwarfing the hut and stopping the attack cold. Meanwhile, some poor farmers nearby are probably wondering what the hell that was. Sakamori just casually admits he overdid it, forgetting to hold back his power. From a distance, you can see the sheer scale of his oopsie as a new visitor arrives. This new guy, looking very official, just stares at the smoking aftermath, completely unfazed. Then the village kid recognizes the newcomer, calling him Kimin, which catches Sakamori's attention. And our boy puts on his best, "I totally did not just cause a magical explosion" face. Kimin, ever the gentleman, checks on the kid first, who confirms he is fine. He then points out Sakamori, confirming to Kimin that this is the guy he is here to see. And this dude introduces himself with a full-on sparkly shoujo background, definitely not a merchant. This new guy introduces himself as Kimin Seiman, complete with a shoujo sparkle background. Sakamori, still processing the magical explosion, just stammers out his own name. Kimin suggests they find a quiet place to talk, and our boy agrees to the change of scenery. When Sakamori asks for a big open field, the kid just points them to a potato patch. This kid confirms it is totally fine to go in since it is not harvest season yet. So now they are having a super serious business meeting in the middle of a tilled field. Kimin is all smiles, thanking him for the meeting, while Sakamori feels the awkwardness. But our boy explains this is prime anti-eavesdropping territory, a classic corporate move. He then drops a whole lecture on why rich guys do business on golf courses, no bugs. Basically, it is way easier to spot a spy in an open field than in a stuffy office. And Kimmin is genuinely impressed, admitting he has never considered that angle before. Sakamori just plays it cool, calling it an old skill from his past life, his salaryman days. Changing subjects, Kimmin brings up the land beast Sakamori supposedly defeated, calling him sharp. Our boy has no idea what a land beast is, so Kimmin tries environmental-type monster. Still lost, Sakamori just clarifies he means the giant thing they called the Lord. Kimmin explains the term land beast comes from their sheer land-like size. We get a glimpse of these monsters, and yeah, they are basically walking ecosystems of death. Apparently, hunting them is a terrible deal with low rewards, so most rulers just ignore them. This reminds Sakamori of the old chief's brilliant plan: do nothing and offer sacrifices instead. Kimmin marvels at the village's ambition, while Sakamori just laments his new job as sacrificial chief. Kimmin gets right to business, asking if Sakamori is interested in buying weapons with a local resource called Alensha. Our boy confidently confirms he can find it, all thanks to one of his special skills. Impressed, Kimmin offers to sell him quality-guaranteed weapons for gold instead, which is a bit of a curveball. Sakamori is a little thrown, wondering if a steady, long-term contract is off the table. Unfortunately, Kimmin says a continuous deal is a no-go right now, and Sakamori needs to know why. He then drops the million-dollar question: if the village gets its independence, what is their defense plan? Sakamori is completely blindsided by this incredibly logical and terrifying point. Kimmin explains that without the Lord, they will need their own dedicated force to protect the village. Thinking it over, Sakamori gets it: without the Lord's protection, they are just a target. He realizes a tiny village cannot possibly sustain both a standing army and a labor force. And Kimmin just confirms that for a place this size, it is a logistical impossibility. This means they will need to hire professional soldiers, not just arm the local farmers, a massive expense. Kimmin agrees that a basic defense might be manageable for a little while at least. But Sakamori boldly claims he can handle the midterm, and his partner immediately asks how. Reaching into his coat, he just coolly says, "I have this." He then pulls out a small, glowing orb he apparently acquired earlier today. Sakamori explains that since money is not an issue, he needs Kimmin to find merchants to help build up the village's foundation. Kimmin is absolutely blown away, admitting this is way beyond anything he expected. Our boy is just completely baffled by this level of praise for a pretty standard business plan. His new partner is just gushing, impressed he not only chose a secure meeting spot but already considered hiring mercenaries. Sakamori is completely flustered by the compliment, and his partner just loves seeing him squirm. Kimmin offers to introduce him to some mercenaries but clarifies he cannot negotiate for them. Apparently, soldiers for hire have a different code and do not like merchants acting as middlemen. He asks for a day or two to verify all the information before passing it along. Our boy agrees, then pivots to ask if Kimmin also deals in information brokering. With a dramatic flair, Kimmin claims he only trades in matters of life and death, and then immediately bursts out laughing, admitting he was just kidding. What a troll. Sakamori decides to flip the script, offering to sell some knowledge of his own. He asks for long-term consulting on what the village should focus on to actually survive, laying out the grim reality that relying only on their natural resources will lead to collapse. He explains they need a real, sustainable foundation to become a proper, independent town. This level of foresight completely catches Kimmin off guard, who is visibly impressed. He admits he'd love to form a long-term partnership with someone who thinks this far ahead. But to do that, he needs to know what assets the village currently has to work with. Sakamori translates the business speak. Kimmin needs to see his cards before they can plan a strategy. So he starts the big presentation, listing the Alensha and his own unique abilities. We get a quick flash of the glowing orb and his past life as a salaryman. Then he casually adds one more major asset to the pile as his partner pops into view. She gives a very confident and slightly chaotic thumbs up, ready for her introduction. And Sakamori smugly reveals his ultimate trump card, the blessings of a literal goddess. Kimmin pivots to one last question, asking about a local guardian beast that recently disappeared. Apparently, when a guardian beast vanishes, all the other creatures it was suppressing start acting weird. Sakamori mulls this over, and Kimmin points out that even the villagers are starting to act differently. With humans, their whole way of life changes, but Kimmin notes you can at least negotiate with them. But the real problem, he warns with a dramatic finger point, are the monsters and wild beasts. Sakamori is understandably confused by this new category of problems: monsters and wild beasts. These creatures, Kimmin explains, can suddenly start attacking humans even if they were previously harmless. He gives a very gangster-like analogy. It is like the monsters are asking whose food you think you're touching. This light bulb goes off for Sakamori, who pictures some local thugs, asking if that is what is coming. Kimmin confirms it is a very real possibility, which is why he needs Sakamori to handle something. Our boy just smiles, totally on board with whatever this new job is. So the job is to investigate any local creatures that might suddenly turn hostile both in and around the village. Recognizing this as a critical test to lock in their business relationship, Sakamori accepts without hesitation. Then Kimmin adds one more request, though he clarifies it is not exactly a job. With a big smile, he asks Sakamori to officially become the village chief, leaving our boy speechless. To be honest, Kimin admits Sakamori is the sole reason he is even willing to do business here. Sakamori is clearly a bit flustered by that level of direct praise. He has apparently known about this village for some time, and we get a glimpse of its impoverished state. And honestly, without Sakamori, he sees absolutely zero value in continuing to trade with this village, ouch. So our boy is left with the very mixed feeling of being the only reason this place is not a total write-off. His goddess partner chimes in from above, reminding him that she is part of this whole deal too. And she finds it absolutely hilarious that a guy with divine favor is getting flustered by a simple merchant. Our boy can only sigh and admit she's got a point, looking totally done with this conversation. With a blindingly cheerful smile, Kimin tells him to go convince the villagers, and Sakamori meekly agrees. So with that settled, they are back in the village to make the big announcement. That kid from before is immediately on board, fists pumped and ready to be his #1 fan. He immediately starts rallying the crowd, and it turns out everyone already considered Sakamori their leader anyway. Sakamori is just standing there, completely caught off guard by the unanimous support. He was expecting a fight. Lounging in midair, his goddess partner smugly points out he was the only one who had not gotten the memo. Still trying to process this, Sakamori asks if there are any, actual qualifications to become chief. Nope, the kid says the job requirements are pretty simple. Just be strong, democracy is overrated here. Our boy figures the real qualification is just making sure everyone can sustain themselves, a very pragmatic approach. With his goddess floating by his side for dramatic effect, he officially asks the crowd if they will have him as chief. This crowd absolutely erupts, cheering their heads off. Guess that is a yes. That kid in particular is absolutely losing his mind with joy. Even the grown men are pumping their fists in the air, completely sold on their new boss. It is a full-on village celebration, with the women and children just as excited. You have made it when even the grumpy-looking old guys are giving you a thumbs up. Faced with all this support, Sakamori just lets out a genuine, heartfelt smile. And just like that, Chief Sakamori is on the job, immediately ordering a survey of the surrounding area. He admits he is still new to the area, so he is bringing some villagers along for the survey. So he heads into the woods with his elite squad of 3 very average-looking dudes. Their first stop is a riverbank where our boy starts doing some serious environmental analysis. This kid from before spots something, and the other villagers look absolutely horrified by the discovery. And of course, it is a giant angry boar charging straight for them. Welcome to the neighborhood. A moment later, the boar is down for the count, complete with a little angel halo, and everyone's applauding. Back in the village, Kimin is already laying out the new defense plan, basic weapons for everyone. This leads to a quick training montage where the villagers actually manage to take down a boar themselves. Their confidence is immediately tested by a giant purple snake monster, and they are not ready. Then a giant sparkly fanged spider shows up, because why not add arachnophobia to the list? Sakamori is already looking so done with this whole chief business, and the day's not even over. But when a truly massive crab spider thing appears, he just calmly holds up his glowing orb, and just like that, he presents a whole pile of defeated monsters, all the recent troublemakers neatly tied up. Kimin is once again completely blown away by Sakamori's over-the-top efficiency. Our boy smugly asks if Kimin really thought he'd just do recon instead of solving the problem. And Kimin just flat out admits he did not, leaving Sakamori wondering what the actual job was supposed to be. Looking at the tied-up carcasses, Kimin's real expectation is revealed. He thought it was a group effort. With his whole crew flexing behind him, Sakamori just confirms it was a team effort. What a great boss. Kimin then doubles down, stating that without Sakamori, this village is completely worthless to him, and our boy just takes that as a challenge, determined to raise the village's stock value himself. Sakamori clarifies that the village needs a system that can run even without him. His partner is just floored, amazed at the leadership and results he has shown so quickly. Kimin admits he has to completely revise his assessment of not just Sakamori but the villagers too. Our boy just takes the compliment with a quiet, confident little smile. With that, Kimin extends a hand, officially offering a long-term business partnership. Sakamori eagerly shakes on it, sealing the deal with a massive, triumphant grin. But there is no time to celebrate, as Kimin immediately drops a new task on him as a reward. He reveals the payment for all those monster carcasses will not be goods but cold, hard cash. Sakamori is a little taken aback by the offer. Cash is a pretty big deal out here. This villagers, however, absolutely lose their minds at the news, practically exploding with joy. Our boy is totally baffled by this level of excitement. It is just money, right? Kimin just smoothly offers to walk them through the details of this new arrangement. So they all gather around the pile of monster loot for a little business meeting. He points out the fur from one of the creatures, explaining it is a high-demand, durable material. Sakamori immediately asks the million-dollar question. If they process it, will Kimin buy it? With a grand gesture, Kimin guarantees an immediate cash purchase for anything the villagers produce. And once again, the crowd goes absolutely wild. A guaranteed cash income is a game changer. Sakamori still confused by the hype, but his goddess partner explains that for farmers, cash is almost unheard of. A light bulb finally goes off in his head as he understands the economic reality of this world. He gets it now. Crops and meat spoil, but money is a stable asset that lets them build actual wealth. His goddess partner explains that of course they are excited, they finally have a stable income. She even relates it to his own past, and he is just annoyed she is reading his mind again. So with a new goal in mind, Chief Sakamori leads his people on their first official hunt. Their target is a small, fluffy creature which the villagers manage to take down pretty easily. Actually processing the thing, however, looks like it is giving them a collective panic attack. Sakamori's plan is to start small, having even the kids learn how to hunt these creatures. Soon enough, they have got a whole production line going, turning out perfectly processed pelts. Seeing the villagers so proud and capable brings a genuine smile to our boy's face. Just then, a horse-drawn wagon rolls up, carrying a new face to the village. A young merchant hops out, cheerfully asking to speak with a Mr. Sakamori. This is Kerr, a traveling merchant sent on behalf of their mutual acquaintance, Kimin, and they are here with cash in hand for the big fur buyout Kimin promised. Sakamori and his crew are just stunned, not expecting a buyer to show up this fast. Kerr confirms they will appraise and pay for everything right here, right now in cash. With a shout, they tell him to bring it all out, kicking off the village's first big payday. Our boy is just staring, completely thrown, and Kerr asks if there is a problem. Turns out, Kerr was just super curious to meet the guy Kimin was so impressed with. This fact that Kimin holds him in special regard is apparently a huge deal in their circles. Sakamori is confused by this, but Kerr insists that this level of attention is very unusual. For a village this small, Kerr explains, merchants never make house calls, it is a major sign of respect. Sakamori pieces it together, merchants avoid remote villages because of travel costs and monster risks. He then asks Kerr why Kimin would even bother with something like fury fur. Turns out it is a super common material that is popular with the masses but has a tiny profit margin. Kerr explains that Kimin usually only deals in high-end luxury goods, making this a huge exception. In fact, it is almost unheard of for the big boss to go this far just to build a relationship. This sends Kerr into full-on fanboy mode, asking for tips with terrifyingly intense, sparkly eyes. Our boy tries to brush it off, insisting he does not have any special knowledge. But Kerr is absolutely not having it, practically begging to learn his secrets. Just then, the villagers arrive with the goods, interrupting this very intense moment of hero worship. This young merchant lays it all out. He wants to learn whatever wisdom earned Kimin's praise. That kid from the village immediately gets what is going on, his eyes lighting up. He grabs Kerr's hand, thrilled that this outsider recognizes their chief's incredible value. Then he starts bragging that he was the one who brought Sakamori here, taking all the credit. Sakamori just wants this to be over, telling them to please just buy the fur already. So the actual business finally gets underway, with the villagers handing over their pelts. His goddess partner calls Kerr sincere, and Sakamori agrees he is just like the other villagers. But there is a key difference between them, as Kerr looks on with quiet determination. Her analysis is sharp. Kerr's ambition is to surpass Sakamori in Kimin's eyes. This reminds our boy of every overeager office rookie who rushes in and crashes and burns, and his partner just calls that kind of reckless, single-minded drive sincere, a very generous term. His goddess partner breaks it down in gacha terms. Compared to these guys, Sakamori is a legendary grade pull. Meanwhile, Kerr and the village kid are just normal or high normal rarity, and Sakamori is just done with her mind reading. A weirdly intense bond has formed between the two fanboys, who are now hugging it out over their shared hero. With the deal done, Kerr rides off into the sunset as the entire village waves him goodbye. And now for the main event, a giant pile of cash on the table that has the villagers absolutely losing it. Sakamori sits with the village leaders, who are all celebrating and giving him full credit for their success. That kid from before steps up, proudly offering the chief his share of the profits. Our boy is a little confused, but his partner points out this is basically a tribute, a thank you offering. He just stands there for a moment, arms crossed, trying to process this whole new dynamic. Then with a smile, he holds up his hands and politely turns down the money. This refusal completely short-circuits the villagers, who just stare back in total shock. Sakamori explains that since they finally have cash, they should use it for their own plans. He tells them their income is still limited, so they should not worry about giving him a cut. But the villagers insist it does not feel right, wanting to share their happiness with their chief. Seeing their determination, he offers a compromise. He will take some of their food instead. This crowd immediately erupts with joy, offering to pay him with meals, dried goods, and even liquor. Suddenly, a mountain of food and supplies appears. Their in-kind contribution is a little excessive. Sakamori is just standing there, completely stunned by the sheer volume of their gratitude. With huge, beaming smiles, the villagers all collectively urge him to please just accept it. He finally relents with a happy sigh, realizing this is enough food to last him for over a year. After all the excitement, Sakamori's attention shifts to a more practical and frankly grosser problem. This village's food supply is covered in mold, looking less like a harvest and more like a science experiment. That kid from before explains they do their best to fight off rats, but the little guys are relentless. Plus, the constant humidity means a huge portion of their food just rots away every year. Sakamori starts digging through his brain, trying to remember some random lesson from his old life. And then it hits him, a memory of an elevated storehouse designed to fight this exact problem. His face lights up as the solution clicks into place. Time for a little architectural revolution. He tells the villagers they might not have to throw away their food anymore, and they are hanging on his every word. With a confident grin, he announces they are going to build a new storage unit that is both rat-proof and mold-proof. And just like that, a perfect elevated warehouse appears, complete with a triumphant ta-da. Our boy stands proudly before his creation, smugly declaring it is exactly what he ordered. One of the villagers is a little confused, though, asking why it has such a strange shape. Sakamori breaks it down for them. It is a high-floor-style warehouse, which is why it is on stilts. He explains that raising it off the ground is the key to preventing moisture and mold from ruining everything. Then he points to a specific part of the support beam, revealing it has another, even cooler purpose. It is called a rat guard, a simple design that physically stops rats from climbing into the building. These villagers are absolutely floored by this incredible dual-purpose anti-pest technology. Sakamori then offers to help anyone rebuild their own storage with this design, even offering to fund it himself. They are shocked by his generosity, insisting it is too much for the chief to pay for. But they quickly agree it'd be rude to refuse, and Sakamori just smiles, his plan moving forward perfectly. With his master plan in motion, Sakamori has just one little favor to ask, and the villagers immediately lose their minds, promising to do literally anything he wants. He is just happy to see them so joyful, but his goddess partner has some thoughts. She points out he does not really get her situation. She is not exactly a publicly worshipped deity. In fact, she gets 0 prayers or offerings, then asks if he'd like to help her experience that. Our boy is just a little thrown by this very subtle, not at all needy request. She immediately backpedals with a blush, claiming she has not really thought about it, sure. Then she quickly changes the subject, but Sakamori's little smirk says he knows exactly what is up. Later, while checking out the new warehouse, she asks about its other benefits. Her brilliant suggestion is to just jump up, forcing him to explain that humans cannot, fly. He clarifies that the inconvenience is the point. It is a great anti-theft feature. This brings up a much more serious topic, the threat of looting. Sakamori's face darkens as he remembers that sleazy local lord, doubting he will stay quiet for long. His partner agrees, warning that the guy will probably try to exploit some loophole in their deal. Our boy knows a direct attack is unlikely. This lord is the type to play dirty from the shadows. He could easily orchestrate some kind of unfortunate accident and claim total innocence. For instance, a totally random landslide could just happen to fall on him during a walk. Or maybe he will accidentally run into a massive horde of monsters. Whoops. She sums it up perfectly. If a coincidence causes his downfall, it is not a breach of contract. Sakamori just laughs it off as a 50-50 chance, but she calls him out for bluffing and he tells her to get out of his head. His goddess partner is absolutely losing it with laughter, while he admits he does not hate a little dramatic flair. She teases him about his cringy past, bringing up classic chuny lines he has definitely thought before. Sakamori just sighs, admitting he knew she'd find his old memories hilarious. Then he strikes a pose and drops some faux deep wisdom, which she immediately roasts as prime cringe material. Just then, that kid from the village runs up, waving and calling for the chief. He announces that the thing Sakamori asked for is already done, and our boy is shocked by the speed. This kid explains that since it was the chief's request, all the craftsmen were super motivated to get it done. His partner, meanwhile, is just a floating, confused pretzel, wondering where they even found craftsmen. He is led to a crowd of villagers who all cheer as soon as they see him arrive. This kid proudly gestures for him to come see what they have made, a huge grin on his face. And there it is, a freshly carved wooden statue of his goddess partner looking surprisingly divine. She is absolutely speechless, staring at her own wooden likeness in total shock. When the villagers ask if it looks right, the kid wonders how the chief even knows her appearance. Sakamori confirms he can see her just fine, which makes his partner blush and feel all fuzzy inside. This revelation sends the villagers into another round of hero worship. Their chief is just that amazing. His partner smugly points out he was so busy watching her memories, he never saw her little surprise coming. With a huge grin, he just throws her own logic back at her. Those who dwell on the past miss the future. Snapping back to reality, he apologizes to the craftsmen and tells them to proceed with the plan. He instructs them to make it a proper statue for prayers, since this deity watches over all of them. Overjoyed, she says if he makes her worship entertaining, she will consider protecting them, playing hard to get. Meanwhile, at the local lord's fancy estate, the gears of villainy are turning. That sleazy noble sits at his desk, tapping his fingers and pondering some very bad ideas. With a truly punchable grin, he muses that maybe Sakamori will just have a little accident. Back in the village, our boy is admiring a brand new, very long spear that just arrived. Kerr the merchant explains it is made from high-quality wood, making it both strong and light. He assures Sakamori he'd never cut corners for a client so highly valued by Kimin. This kid is still desperately trying to learn Sakamori's secrets to success, but gets laughed off. With the delivery complete, Kerr and his new village bestie wave a cheerful goodbye. Sakamori and the villagers now stand before a fresh arsenal of spears and spearheads. One of the men asks if he only ordered spears, and Sakamori confirms it. Some of the younger villagers are a little disappointed. They wanted to look cool with swords. Our boy apologizes, saying he had his reasons, and they immediately accept his judgment. His goddess partner asks why he chose spears, admitting she is not reading his mind to keep it fun. Sakamori explains the first reason is cost. Iron is just way too expensive for them right now. For the price of one sword, he could arm 5 or 6 people with spears, but he is coy about reason too. He then gathers everyone, asking for 5 volunteers of any age to grab a spear. These villagers are all super eager to help, with kids and an old man stepping right up. Standing before the volunteers, Sakamori gives them their first instruction: swing the spears up. Then he tells them to use the rebound and slam the weapons straight down into the ground. One of the kids follows through, cracking the earth with a surprisingly powerful blow. These volunteers are completely blown away, all shouting about how incredible that simple move felt. Sakamori explains the spear's length creates a natural bend, amplifying even a small amount of force. He has them repeat the move in unison, creating a synchronized wall of ground-shattering impacts. Then he turns to the crowd and asks for a volunteer to try and break through their new defensive line. Seeing the ground crack under the force of the spears, the other villagers look a little hesitant. But of course, the village's self-proclaimed toughest guy steps up, totally confident this will be easy. Our 5-person squad of kids and elders just stands there, ready for his charge. He scoffs that their farming strength is nothing and barrels forward with a full-on battle cry, and he immediately gets shut down as all 5 spears slam down at once, sending him flying back. Now he is just whimpering on the ground while the crowd gawks, unable to believe their strongest guy got one-shotted. Sakamori makes his point. With this method, anyone can be a defender, regardless of age or strength. He has them imagine a whole phalanx of spear users, a thought that makes the tough guy break out in a cold sweat. With a confident wink, Sakamori declares that with this tactic, they could even hold their own against knights. This revelation makes the entire village light up with pure, unadulterated hype. His goddess partner finally gets it. The spear's length is basically a cheat code for generating force. He then reveals his second reason. Most people have a serious mental block against actually cutting someone with a blade. But since this move is just like farming, it bypasses that psychological hurdle, making it easier to use in a fight. It all minimizes their mental stress, making it a simple, low-cost tactic for actual combat. Just as he is wrapping up his lesson, his expression sharpens. He has detected something approaching. And what he senses is a massive, terrifying spider monster screeching from the nearby forest, well timed for a field test. His goddess partner just deadpans again, while Sakamori looks like he is so done with this world's problems, and the villagers are absolutely losing it, screaming that the monster is an arachne, a giant spider. But Sakamori immediately takes command, telling everyone to line up with the sharp-tipped spears this time. This villagers quickly form a line, their new weapons pointing to the sky, ready for a real fight. He shouts for them to sync their timing and put every ounce of strength into one unified slam. This little line of farmers stands their ground as the massive spider charges right at them. Talk about a trial by fire. With the monster bearing down on them, they all heave their spears back, bracing for the impact. Sakamori gives the signal with a full-throated "now. It is go time," and they bring the spears down in perfect unison, skewering the monster's head and legs. A spearhead digs right into its face, making it shriek, but Sakamori just yells for another round. Gritting their teeth, the villagers haul their spears back up for a second decisive blow. With the beast reeling, he screams for them to hit it even harder this time around. This second volley lands with a sickening crunch, absolutely shattering the monster's defenses. Meanwhile, the villagers on the sidelines are just staring, completely speechless at what they are witnessing. And just like that, the giant spider is down for the count, twitching on the ground. Sakamori just gives a cool, satisfied smile as if this was the plan all along. The spearwielders cannot believe it, shouting that they actually defeated the arachne themselves. That kid and the old man are ecstatic, yelling that it is all thanks to their amazing chief. Our boy just flashes them a huge grin and a thumbs up, telling them they did a great job. He praises the spears but gives the real credit to them, saying all their hard farming work paid off. Sakamori figures with this new tactic, they can handle monsters one-on-one and keep getting stronger. These villagers are absolutely fired up, promising to train every single day from now on. With a resounding "yes, sir," the whole crowd is on board with their chief's plan, but his goddess partner's eyes suddenly flash, her danger sense is going off. She zips over to him with a worried look and he immediately asks what is wrong. And right on cue, another giant monster stomps out of the forest, because this world has zero chill. Our boy is just so incredibly tired of these things popping up all the time. This villagers, still high on their wind, tell him to relax, they can totally handle one more monster. Except it is not one, it is two, and that overconfidence is about to die a very quick death. Sakamori does a quick double take, trying to process the sudden change in enemy numbers. Then the view pans out to reveal an entire freaking army of spiders pouring from the woods. All that villager bravado immediately evaporates into pure high-pitched screaming. Taking charge, Sakamori orders everyone back to the village, telling them he will handle this. He reminds the kid that he is the one who cleared out the spider nest in the first place. With a confident grin, he promises he will not lose to something like this, getting the kid to trust him. He sends the villagers running for safety, turning to face the massive swarm all by himself. An overhead shot shows the ridiculous odds. It is one guy against about 50 giant spiders. He calmly speculates they are just mad he destroyed their home, totally downplaying the whole certain death vibe. His partner, however, points out that these creatures do not normally move in organized groups. This leads Sakamori to a grim realization: there has to be a mastermind controlling this swarm. And of course, there is a shady figure peeking from behind a tree because this world has no chill. Sakamori has to admit his partner was right. This was a planned attack all along. This mastermind is some creepy-looking dude with glowing red eyes just to complete the villain checklist. Meanwhile, Sakamori is already tearing through the spiders, dismissing them as just a numbers game. He confidently declares that should take care of them all. Famous last words, my guy. But his partner spots the real threat, pointing out the figure still hiding amongst the trees. Without a second thought, our boy is already gone, blasting towards the woods to intercept. This mastermind, a buff dude with face tats, is shocked as Sakamori appears right in front of him. His eyes go wide with pure panic as he realizes he's been completely found out. Wasting zero time, Sakamori lands a brutal gut punch that folds the guy in half. That one hit is enough to send the tamer doubling over, coughing up blood. Lying on the ground, the guy can only wonder who the hell just one-shotted him. His goddess partner is all fired up, ready to lend her power, though Sakamori just teases her about the statue. Getting serious, she snaps her fingers and demands to know who this mystery attacker is. This tamer reveals he is from the Monster Tamer Guild, sent on direct orders from the local lord. Sakamori's expression freezes as he realizes exactly which lord they are talking about. Yep, it is that punchable, sleazy noble from before, pulling the strings from his estate. He asks what the order was and the tamer confirms it: eliminate troublesome people. This horrifying realization hits Sakamori. The spiders were not for him, they were for the village, and right on cue he sees smoke rising in the distance. The main attack is already underway. Grabbing the tamer, Sakamori demands answers, but the guy says he was just the distraction. This whole mess is on the local lord, who has a very strict no traitors policy apparently. Absolutely furious, Sakamori leaves the goon in the dust and sprints back toward the village. He arrives to see his worst fears realized. The entire place is engulfed in flames. Meanwhile, a squad of hooded assassins gives the order to kill every last villager. These villagers fight back with their new spears but are getting overwhelmed by the trained killers. Just as a villager is about to fall, Sakamori blazes in, deflecting the fatal blow. His sudden arrival leaves the assassins completely stunned and confused. Their leader quickly deduces that the monster tamer failed his one and only job. For the villagers, however, seeing their chief is a massive wave of pure relief. Sakamori's eyes are just burning with cold rage as he surveys the chaos. Seeing his people wounded on the ground only pours more fuel on that fire. He immediately orders everyone to fall back to protect the children and tend to the injured. Stepping out from the smoke, the lead assassin finally confronts the village chief. This guy offers some condescending praise, writing off the spider victory as pure luck. He then confirms he is here on the Lord's direct orders to clean up this mess. Then comes the big boast. They are elite assassins, each one worth 100 spiders, sure buddy. With a smug grin, he declares Sakamori's one chance is over and now he is done for. This two sides face off, one man against a whole squad of self-proclaimed badasses. But before the assassin can even finish his monologue, a tiny glint of light appears right before his eyes. And before the assassin can even react, Sakamori is already on him with a brutal gut punch. With a savage grin, our boy asks what he was just saying about being done for. This so-called elite is already on his knees coughing, while his squad just stares in disbelief. Cracking his knuckles, Sakamori promises these guys are about to pay for ever touching his village. Their leader just screams for his goons to attack, sending the whole hooded crew rushing forward, which turns out to be a terrible idea as Sakamori proceeds to style on every single one of them. One clean uppercut sends the entire squad flying like a bunch of ragdolls. Their boss can only gawk in pure, unadulterated shock. His brain has officially short-circuited. Winding up for the finisher, Sakamori declares that this is the final turn, and that Assassin's face is about to get personally acquainted with our boy's knuckles. This punch sends him blasting off into the sky Team Rocket style. Sakamori just points, telling them to bring a guardian beast next time if they are actually serious. With the trash taken out, he checks on the villagers, learning everyone thankfully survived the attack. Inside, the scene is grim as the wounded are being patched up in a makeshift infirmary. He is surprised to learn his goddess partner's essence is basically a miracle healing potion. Turns out the salve is made from the arachne they killed, some very convenient monster biology. Just then, one of the villagers approaches him with a somber look on his face. This kid apologizes, showing him that their brand new spears were all broken in the fight. For them, those were not just weapons, they were a symbol of their first real victory. And hearing that, Sakamori's expression turns absolutely murderous. They crossed a line. Sakamori just brushes it off with a smile, saying they can always get new spears. But the villagers are absolutely livid, and our boy cuts through the rage by demanding a map. He specifically wants one showing all the Lord's manors and fortresses, making them wonder what is next. With a look of pure murder, he gives them the one-step plan: destroy them all. As the villagers prepare for war, a delivery suddenly arrives for their chief. A messenger holds out a scroll, and Sakamori asks what he has just been handed. Turns out it is a map sent from Kimin-san, that well-dressed merchant from before. Sakamori is a little thrown off by the perfectly timed gift, to say the least. Unrolling it, he sees their little village is marked right in the dead center. His goddess partner points out how weird that is. Maps usually focus on important cities, not backwater towns. He asks the messenger if the Lord's residence is on there, and the kid points to some other markings. Leaning in closer, Sakamori takes a look at the spots the messenger indicated. And yep, those glowing icons are all the locations of the Lord's estates. This messenger confirms there are 7, and the Lord is currently in the one closest to them. It all clicks for Sakamori that Sleazebag was staying nearby to watch the show was not he. He sends his thanks back to Kimin, promising to repay the favor later. Our boy cannot help but be impressed by Kimin's foresight, basically having an attack plan ready to go. This target is a pretty standard-looking stone fortress, time for a house call. Leading his new militia, Sakamori gets a good look at the castle from the tree line, and now they are standing right at the front gate, ready to kick it down. These villagers are understandably freaked out by the fortress-like gate, asking their chief for a plan. Sakamori just holds up a hand, telling them to chill, which only confuses them more. With a confident smile, he simply asks to borrow one of their spears for a moment. Now armed, the villagers watch on, totally clueless about what he is planning to do with it. He gets into a throwing stance, telling everyone to just sit back and watch the show. Closing his eyes, he starts channeling a ridiculous amount of purple energy into the weapon. This spear is practically vibrating with power as he prepares to unleash whatever this is. His eyes fly open, locked on the target with some serious killer intent. And he yeets it, the spear rocketing towards the fortress like a magical javelin. It carves a trench in the ground as it screams towards the main gate. This impact is just a massive explosion of light and stone, completely obliterating the entrance. Sakamori just points forward while his entire crew stares with their jaws on the floor. Inside, the guards are freaking out as they see their main gate has been, completely vaporized. With a triumphant fist pump, he declares the path open, his partner absolutely loving the chaos. Turning to his newly formed army, he asks with a grin if they are ready to go. These villagers are absolutely roaring with excitement, their morale now through the roof. Hearing the commotion, the fortress guards have no idea what fresh hell is about to descend on them. They look out to see an army of armed villagers charging right through their demolished gate. Their commander just smirks, telling his soldiers not to panic, famous last words, buddy. A massive, heavily armored knight steps up to block the entrance, ready to hold the line. This big armored dude scoffs at the attackers, calling them a 10-person riot, nothing to worry about. He even gives himself a nickname, Iron Gate Arnold, promising to handle this personally. And Sakamori immediately sends Iron Gate Arnold on a one-way trip to the stratosphere with a single punch. Our boy then calmly assesses the real threat, the fortress's archers and heavy infantry. Inside, the Lord's soldiers get ready, looking like your standard-issue fantasy goons, which does not matter as Sakamori just blazes through them, deflecting arrows and kicking butt. Following his lead, the villagers charge in with a roar, ready for some payback. They start overwhelming the guards, their new spears proving brutally effective. Meanwhile, in the courtyard, we finally find our target, that sleazy noble from before. This guy is literally plugging his ears, annoyed that his fortress being invaded is so loud. He is absolutely seething, promising these bastards will not get away with this. But he is already surrounded, with the villagers telling him they are done taking his orders. His response is pure condescension, refusing to even speak to mere commoners. That little comment goes over about as well as you'd expect with the furious crowd. Now completely cornered, the Lord sits there as Sakamori and the villagers close in. His goddess partner leans in, asking what the plan is for this piece of work. Sakamori's idea is simple: tie him up and let him suffer a little, betting he will crack instantly. This Lord is already sweating bullets, trying desperately not to look terrified. With a deadpan expression, Sakamori just confirms his own theory about the guy's cowardice. And just then, the ropes binding the Lord's hands suddenly snap apart. Instead of tying him back up, Sakamori just holds out the broken rope and says he will set the Lord free. This decision leaves the villagers totally stunned, while his goddess partner is just loving the drama. Even the Lord himself is just gritting his teeth in total confusion. He demands to know who Sakamori thinks he is, but our boy just calmly repeats the offer to let him go. He even clarifies there is no ransom needed, no strings attached at all, just telling the fuming noble to get out of his sight. And this just breaks the Lord's brain. He is actually offended that he is not considered worth a ransom. Sakamori just casually picks his ear and confirms it. Yep, you are worth absolutely nothing. Then he drops the logic bomb. How does a supposedly powerful lord with a fortress get defeated? Not only defeated, but captured twice * by villagers. So yeah, what exactly is he worth? This lord is just seething, completely unable to form a coherent sentence. Tucking his tail, the lord flees while screaming empty threats, making the villagers worry about retaliation. But Sakamori just calmly reassures them that it is fine, they are still the ones in control here. With the lord having fled into the distance, Sakamori reveals the next step in his plan. He is running straight for the nearest fortress, which Sakamori announces is their next target. These villagers are just like, wait, we are doing the whole fortress storming thing again. This logic is simple. A big ransom would have validated the lord's ego, but this is pure psychological warfare. Suddenly, the whole brilliant, petty plan clicks for one of the villagers. 1 down, 6 to go. Sakamori lays out the full price for ever touching their village. With that, the villagers are no longer scared. They are all in, ready for the next fight. With a savage grin, Sakamori declares they are going to do this 6 more times to achieve total annihilation. His goddess partner stares up at the next fortress on the list, asking what the plan is now. He tells the villagers they will just hit whatever fortress the lord fled to, but his partner interjects. She presses him for the actual victory condition, the real endgame for this whole campaign. Sakamori's strategy is to completely shred the lord's authority. Since getting owned by a village ruins his rep, his partner gets it immediately, smugly pointing out they will need the villagers on board for this. He is just relieved she understands without a long explanation, and she is loving his new brand of chaos. So on to the next fortress, where the front gate is about to have a very, very bad day. A massive explosion blows the gate wide open, sending the guards reeling in absolute shock. And through the smoke and rubble, Sakamori just strolls in with a casual "excuse us, love the politeness." Elsewhere, a pair of binoculars hits the floor, completely shattered from the owner's shock. That someone is, of course, our favorite sleazy lord, who is absolutely losing his mind. He is screaming at his butler that it is just one guy, demanding they kill him and drag the body back. This guy with some truly unfortunate teeth vows to kill Sakamori himself, but his butler looks terrified. This lord just screams at him to get moving already, sending the poor guy scrambling away. But he is confident this time, thinking his 300 irregular troops will make all the difference, sure buddy. Meanwhile, Sakamori is just casually styling on the guards, literally pointing them out one by one. He carves a path through the soldiers, one of whom yells that he is not allowed in, as if that will work. And the lord's face is just a perfect picture of pure unadulterated slack-jawed panic. He immediately orders his butler to prep their escape to the asterisk next mansion, using his own men as a distraction. This lord and his remaining goons are booking it to the next safe house. He orders 2 of his butlers to stay behind and set up an ambush, much to their horror. Their only job is to beg and plead to buy him more time. What a great boss. With a smug grin, he is sure these fools will walk right into his brilliant trap. But one of his men grabs him, trying to scream a warning about what is ahead. Turns out their asterisk is asterisk an ambush waiting, just not the one he was expecting. And just like that, the lord and his crew are captured again, sitting defeated on the path. Sakamori strolls up with a casual wave, pointing out they are in this exact situation again. Turning to the villagers, he asks them what they want to do with their captured prize. This lord is absolutely freaking out, realizing his fate is in the hands of commoners. He cannot believe Sakamori would let them decide, but our boy confirms that is the deal. This sleazebag is furious, refusing to let scum determine what happens to him. Sakamori just muses that prey this easy to catch does not really have much value, does it? He then puts the question to the villagers one more time, letting the idea sink in. With a little wink, he signals that he has got this all under control. One of the younger villagers seems to get the message, looking up with an idea. He suggests that if the lord is worthless, they should probably just let him go. This leaves the other villagers completely baffled, wondering what he is talking about. Meanwhile, the lord is having a full-on meltdown, screaming his head off in rage. But the villager just calmly agrees with the logic. Easy prey is not worth keeping. This lord is absolutely losing his mind over the suggestion to just let him go. The disrespect is real. So with their worthless captive sent packing, Sakamori and his crew are already on the road to the next fortress. This villager who suggested it apologizes, thinking he let everyone down after they worked so hard. But the others are thrilled, saying that seeing the lord's humiliated face was worth more than any ransom. One of them turns to Sakamori, eagerly asking what the next brilliant, petty move is. With a devilish grin, Sakamori says they are just going to do this over and over to watch the guy's soul crumble. And that is all the villagers needed to hear. They are absolutely fired up for more chaos. At the next mansion, Sakamori makes his entrance by kicking the door off its hinges, right in the lord's horrified face, which leads to the inevitable result, the lord captured and tied up for the 3rd time. Sakamori presents their recurring prize to the villagers, who are getting pretty good at this whole capture thing. He then casually bends open a solid metal gate just to show how little effort this all takes. Our boy gives a cheerful little wave as the lord is dragged off for another round of freedom. This whole cycle of capture and humiliation repeats, with Sakamori looking increasingly bored by the lack of challenge. He is literally just laughing with his new friends while the lord gets hauled away in the background again. After being caught for the umpteenth time, the lord is looking ragged but still spitting empty threats. Sakamori is just unimpressed, noting the guy's stubborn refusal to break and wonders what to do now. His goddess partner pops in, also marveling at the lord's terrible attitude as Sakamori finally decides on a new plan. Hearing that they are calling it a day, the lord's eyes widen with a flicker of hope. But then Sakamori drops the new terms, a ransom of 1 million sell. This completely restores the lord's ego, who declares it a fitting price, but Sakamori adds there is one more condition. Sakamori drops the final condition with a huge grin, a complete annulment of their contract. This news just completely short-circuits the lord's brain, leaving him utterly speechless. With the villagers at his back, Sakamori officially declares their independence from this clown. A quiet shot of their little rundown village shows it is finally their own. He then reminds the kneeling lord that the reasons for this are pretty self-explanatory, right? A quick flashback montage helpfully lists all the assassins and thugs the lord sent after them. This lord can only grit his teeth, knowing he's been caught red-handed in all his schemes. Sakamori points out they're just playing by his rules, demanding a ransom equal to his worth. Trying to save face, the lord scoffs that a tiny village's independence means nothing anyway, pure cope. But Sakamori just roasts him, asking who exactly kept getting his butt handed to him by that tiny village. So here are the final terms: 1 million sell, full independence, and a 1-year non-aggression pact. He cheerfully presents the new contract, laying out the deal that will end this whole mess. Oh, and one last little detail, the lord has to sign it in blood, much to his disgust. This villagers worry this is pointless since the lord will just attack later, but Sakamori assures them he will not. Their question is answered by the sight of the lord looking absolutely pathetic, held by his own men. Sakamori explains it is all about pride. Paying the ransom lets the lord save face and cut his losses. Plus, with 7 mansions lost and his army battered, a year-long truce is actually a pretty sweet deal for him. With the contract signed, Sakamori gives a casual wave as the defeated lord trudges away. This villagers erupt in celebration, while his goddess partner asks about that devious look on his face. She admits she loves watching him scheme, and Sakamori just deadpans, asking if she is reading his mind again. His goddess partner says she is just here for the show, since knowing the ending would ruin all the fun. Sakamori points out she has used that line before, so she cheekily upgrades her ticket from front row to VIP. He is cool with that, figuring as long as he is entertaining the gods, he is doing something right. A few days later, Sakamori waves goodbye to some villagers who are heading out on their own. Turns out word of their victory has spread like wildfire and people are now coming to them for help. His partner calls these new connections entertaining, a vague but accurate assessment of the chaos. This logic is simple. The old lord was a weakling, so now everyone's scrambling to ally with the new power. Sakamori just smirks, knowing that clueless lord probably still does not grasp how royally he has been screwed. She cannot wait to see his face when reality finally hits, but Sakamori tells her she could just go watch. With a slightly unsettling smile, she says the lord's life is nothing compared to his. Okay, a little possessive there. As more people arrive, she is just thrilled about all the new drama this whole situation is going to create. But then a villager sprints up to him, completely out of breath and yelling about an emergency. Sakamori's mind immediately flashes to another sleazy-looking noble, bracing for another fight. This news, however, is that the chief from a neighboring village is here to see him in person, and the reason is a bombshell. He is here to offer his daughter's hand in marriage, leaving Sakamori stunned. So our boy heads out to meet this new delegation waiting for him on the path. This village chief, a man named Lloyd, greets him with an almost comical level of respect. He then introduces his daughter Mina and nudges her forward to say hello. A young woman steps forward, shyly offering a greeting to her potential new husband. After her dad scolds her for not being polite enough, Sakamori instantly gets it. This is a political alliance. This chief's daughter Mina is giving off some serious "I'd rather be anywhere else" vibes. He is thinking she is pretty cute, though her expression screams, "I am so over this." His goddess partner immediately pegs her as a pampered kid being married off to the boonies. That pout is working overtime, completely overshadowing any potential charm she might have. To Sakamori, she is just some girl from another town, nothing particularly exciting about this whole deal. Now at the table, the chief gets straight to business, confirming he is here for a strong alliance. With a grand gesture, her dad officially proposes the marriage, while Mina just huffs in her seat. Meanwhile, his goddess partner is just cackling, draped over his head and loving the drama. Trying to de-escalate this awkwardness, Sakamori politely offers them some tea. This simple offer seems to completely catch the chief off guard, a luxury apparently. Turns out this is some high-class tea from that merchant Kimin, which is news to Sakamori himself. Mina immediately declares the fancy tea is bitter and gross, much to her father's absolute horror. She is not done calling Sakamori scrawny and saying even the merchant was more impressive. Ouch. Her father is practically bowing an apology, but Sakamori just waves it off with a calm smile. But she is on a roll, questioning if he is really that strong and flexing that her village is bigger. While some villager kid gives a creepy grin, Mina argues he should be the one begging them for help. Sakamori just calmly clarifies her point, so she is not sure if he is worthy of her. Is that it? His goddess partner pops in, cheerfully suggesting he should just show her his power and settle this. She is absolutely thrilled by the idea, eager to prove that they are more than a match for these guys. Sakamori immediately tries to shut this down, yelling that they need to sort out the actual contract first. His goddess partner questions why he is even bothering with a contract when they are already offering tribute and their daughter. She then cheekily reminds him that their entire village's future now rests squarely on his shoulders. Sakamori acknowledges the deal is good for his village, but he is thinking about the strings attached. He knows this is not a real alliance. They are just terrified and looking for protection from the new power in town. This weight of it all sinks in. Agreeing to this means he is now responsible for their village too. Considering that, the terms suddenly do not look so great and he needs to figure out his next move. But his goddess has a much simpler plan. Start by putting that bratty girl in her place, much to his horror. With a dramatic flourish, she declares it is time to get this show on the road. Back at the negotiation table, a sudden boom makes the chief wonder if it is thunder. A villager then bursts in, screaming for everyone to get outside because something terrible is happening. They all rush out to find the sky has gone completely dark, with a full moon hanging in the sky. And as they watch, something begins to swallow the moon, creating a terrifying, unnatural eclipse. While the visitors freak out, Sakamori calmly points out it is a solar eclipse, even though it is the wrong season for one. He immediately knows his goddess is behind this massive flex, but he is not sure how it helps with the paperwork. This ominous shadow continues to creep across the sky, casting a pall of dread over everyone. This is way too much for the visiting chief, who is now convinced he never should have come to this cursed place. In absolute terror, he comes to a single conclusion: this is the work of the gods. He immediately drops to his knees, certain he is witnessing the divine power that protects this village. His people start connecting the dots, remembering the local legends and Sakamori's personal connection to the goddess. And right on cue, the goddess herself appears in a blaze of glory, telling Sakamori she will handle the grand finale. Sakamori is just standing there, completely dumbfounded by his partner's sudden, dramatic entrance. Suddenly, a massive pillar of light erupts from the village, and everyone knows exactly where it is coming from. This goddess statue itself is now glowing with an absolutely insane amount of holy energy. Naturally, this whole light show has the visiting chief and his people completely frozen in awe. His goddess's voice echoes in his head, telling him his true strength is his divine connection. With a smug smile, she points out this gives him an ability no one else has, setting the stage perfectly. Sakamori catches on instantly, a perfect "I am about to lie to your face" grin spreading across his face. Bathed in holy light, he stands before the chief and Mina, declaring that the gods are officially not pleased. He specifically calls out Mina's attitude, noting she disrespected the one guy who talks to gods, huge mistake. With the chief in full panic mode, Sakamori casually suggests they might want to rethink their terms. This goddess then chimes in, demanding they prove their sincerity to be worthy of divine protection. Completely overwhelmed, the chief immediately agrees to whatever they want, and Sakamori just soaks it in. She then adds that the gods need time to deliberate, which is just code for you guys can sweat for a bit. For extra dramatic effect, the statue flares up with an angry red light, really selling the divine wrath. Then, just as suddenly, the sky clears, leaving everyone baffled by the divine mood swing. Sakamori smoothly explains the gods have granted them time, and the chief is falling over himself with gratitude. Even Mina is looking flustered, her bratty attitude completely vaporized by a healthy dose of holy terror. This delegation heads out, promising to revise the terms and prove their sincerity, with Sakamori waving them off. His goddess pops up, praising the performance, and he just admits it is easy when the whole thing is rigged. He is confident this will make future negotiations a breeze, but her skeptical look suggests otherwise. This villagers realize everyone saw that divine light show, not just them. And with Lloyd's group spreading the story, their legend is about to go viral. Sakamori gets a greedy glint in his eye, knowing other villages will be lining up with sweet deals. His goddess partner is already celebrating their guaranteed future, but he is not so sure. She then snaps her fingers, deciding it is time to move on to the next issue on her agenda. Suddenly, Sakamori is hit with a jolt of something, leaving him completely flustered. He is blushing and sweating, totally confused about what is happening to his body. His partner cheekily explains the village's prosperity is tied to his asterisk prosperity, if you catch her drift. While Sakamori stands there clutching himself in agony, a villager asks if he is okay. He bolts, screaming about a stomach ache, leaving everyone completely baffled by his sudden exit. Safely inside, he is just trying to catch his breath and deal with this. Divine intervention. His goddess pops in, fully aware of the chaos she caused, but he is not having it. She asks if he does not want boundless virility, and he just yells that she is turning him into a creep. Our boy complains he does not want another power he cannot even control. She seems to get it, pointing out how he held back against the Lord's fortress. A quick flashback confirms he used spears in close combat instead of his usual god-tier nukes. He explains the goal was different back then, he was not trying to just obliterate everything. So he asks for a power that is a little more manageable, something he can actually handle. She totally understands his point, and then immediately refuses with a pout. Her final troll is a no-returns policy, a phrase she literally just stole from his mind. His goddess gets serious, pointing out that most people with his power would just go full villain. But Sakamori is different, he is so hesitant to use his god-tier abilities he is practically allergic to them. And with a massive grin, she declares that is exactly why she has taken a liking to him recently. Our boy is just a blushing mess, completely caught off guard by the sudden praise. She calls it a self-imposed challenge, and he immediately yells at her to stop stealing phrases from his brain. With a deep sigh, he asks if there is a return policy on this whole uncontrollable power situation. Her answer is a cheerful nope, so he just accepts he will have to innovate with the tools he has got. He is still trying to process the compliment, looking away with a shy, flustered expression. She is not done talking, but he cuts her off until she threatens to just read his mind, which works instantly. Later, back in the village, things seem to have settled down for a moment. Then a delegation of village elders shows up looking dead serious, like they are about to stage a coup. Sakamori sits before them, looking a little tense about whatever this new drama is. This lead elder opens his mouth, ready to make a grand declaration, and the entire group drops to the floor, swearing absolute loyalty to him as their new chief. His goddess gloats about how effective her little eclipse stunt was, and Sakamori has to agree it was overkill. Trying to be a normal leader, he politely asks the groveling men to please get off the floor. He then starts his speech, explaining that he cannot just speak for the gods willy-nilly. But he assures them that as long as they behave, they will not get smited from the heavens. This head elder is sweating bullets, promising he will never, ever betray him. In unison, the rest of them all swear their undying loyalty, still bowing to their new god-touched leader. Sakamori is loving this, realizing they are terrified, so he smoothly suggests they get down to business. Not to be outdone, another elder immediately jumps in, offering his own very beautiful daughter to the cause. His goddess partner is all for the political marriage idea, but Sakamori's already dreading the rivalries it would create. Her brilliant solution is to just marry all of them, a suggestion he immediately shuts down, citing future drama. Deciding to sidestep that whole mess, Sakamori tables the marriage discussion, leaving the elders looking utterly crushed. Instead, he has got a much better idea, telling a villager to hand something over to the council. This kid presents them with a neatly folded white cloth, a very mysterious offering indeed. Each elder gets one, and they are all looking completely confused about what is happening right now. Then Sakamori unveils the main event, a banner for their new alliance, which looks suspiciously familiar to him. He tells them to fly it high for everyone to see, and the elders are just staring in absolute shock. One of them gets a closer look, asking if the big red dot is supposed to be the sun. Bathed in a holy glow, Sakamori confirms it is a sun that will never set on their glorious new alliance. This immediately triggers a PTSD flashback to the eclipse, and you can see the terror dawning on their faces. In perfect, terrified unison, they all scream their undying loyalty, mission accomplished for our boy. Later, as the sun rises, he and his goddess partner walk away, the deal now completely sealed. She turns to him, calling him amusing, and he is a little caught off guard by the comment. His partner points out that no other reincarnator has ever brought their homeland's flag, but he just says it fit the sun theme. With a knowing grin, she tells him he has basically just planted his flag and claimed this land for himself. She is not just talking about an alliance, though. She says he has laid the foundation for a whole new nation. This triggers a memory of his past life, reminding him of his goal to build a country where no one is a sacrifice. He is haunted by a flashback to his past life, a miserable existence of being overworked to death. This is why his new goal is to build a nation where people are genuinely happy to be citizens. He wants a country where life is more than just a desperate, day-to-day struggle for survival. A place where people have actual hope instead of just accepting their country is doomed. Of course, building a nation from scratch means dealing with a mountain of logistics and paperwork. And Sakamori knows he's got a ton of organizing to do before any of that can happen. His goddess notes his past trauma is now valuable experience, so he will start with his village first. His partner, however, is more focused on why he rejected all those marriage offers from the elders. Our boy just brushes it off, claiming he was not politically or romantically inclined. She calls him picky for someone with so little experience, and he yells at her to stop reading him like a book. With glowing eyes, she decides to just dive into his subconscious to see the truth, much to his horror. After her mental deep dive, she explains it is a subconscious thing he would not even know about. She offers to reveal the real reason he is not interested, and suddenly he is not so sure he wants to know. This reason, she declares with a flourish, is because he finds her more alluring than any mortal woman. Sakamori completely short-circuits, and she just cheekily asks if he is really going to call his goddess a liar. He is left completely stumped. How can you argue with a feeling you do not even know you have? Floating smugly, she starts to wonder aloud about the implications of all this. She then asks herself if she is the one in love with the god, as in him. Her answer is a cheerful nope, leaving Sakamori completely lost. She scoffs at the idea, saying she would not waste her time on such shallow feelings. Total power move. She drops the L-bomb, declaring his feelings are straight-up love, and he is not ready for this. Our boy is now surrounded by a pink heart background he absolutely did not ask for. With a smug little smile, she admits she does not exactly hate the idea, which is not helping him at all. Sakamori's brain just completely short-circuits, leaving him a blushing, stammering wreck. She then casually drops a "till death do us part," deciding to make their whole partnership official. As the one who walks alongside a god, she has a very specific role for him in mind, and that role is to be a sacrifice, which sounds less like a job and more like a problem. She repeats her point, hammering home the duties that come with his divine connection. Then she clarifies that he needs to become the offering, and he is still not sure what that means. This next morning, their new sun that never sets flag is flying proudly over the village. Sakamori walks through town, with everyone now greeting him as their official chief. He is playing the part perfectly, waving and smiling like a natural-born politician. Even at the market, he is checking in on the locals, getting a feel for his new responsibilities. These villagers are all smiles, clearly thrilled with their new god-touched leadership. After his little tour, he waves goodbye, leaving a trail of happy citizens in his wake. But once he is alone, his cheerful facade completely vanishes. Standing by himself, the weight of his new position seems to finally be sinking in. That word offering is still stuck in his head, and he is clearly not a fan of the implications. He confronts his partner, yelling that there is no way he is letting himself get eaten. She just brushes him off, telling him to stop overthinking it and go do something useful for the village. Sakamori steels himself for his new duties, admitting he is still a little nervous about it all. This sun rises on another peaceful day in his rapidly developing village. He and his goddess partner look out over the fields, enjoying a rare moment of calm. A group of farmers immediately spots him, respectfully calling him chief as he passes by. Noticing their worried expressions, our boy stops to ask what is troubling them. One of the villagers explains that while things are great, they feel bad relying on him for everything. This poor guy tried to restart his old farm, but the soil is completely dead, a real confidence killer. Sakamori is so touched by their independent spirit he is literally crying with pride. He offers to help, but the farmer politely declines, saying that would defeat the whole point. Getting down to business, Sakamori considers the problem, knowing basic fertilizer is not cutting it. High-grade stuff is just a fantasy. The cost alone would bankrupt them before it even arrived. His goddess partner chimes in from his shoulder, telling him he worries way too much. These farmers overhear this and immediately assume it is a divine revelation, because of course they do. Caught completely off guard, Sakamori just awkwardly agrees, playing the part of the holy messenger. And just like that, the villagers are looking at him with stars in their eyes, totally buying the act. He asks his partner for the actual plan, and she just tells him to listen to her divine guidance. Turning back to the farmers, he presents his grand idea and they look skeptical. His divine solution is a wooden box dug into the ground, a compost bin. Then he launches into a full-on TED talk about layering manure and straw for optimal decomposition. In a few months, he explains they will have all the high-quality fertilizer they could ever need. These farmers are completely underwhelmed by his divine solution, a simple box of dirt and straw. So Sakamori just pulls the will of the gods card because when in doubt, blame divinity. And just like that, the villagers are 100% on board, their faces lit up with holy inspiration. Now they are all fired up, ready to start a village-wide composting revolution based on pure faith. Sakamori, meanwhile, is just mentally reviewing the agricultural science he remembers from his past life. His goddess thinks he is some kind of benevolent deity, but he knows he is just recycling old knowledge. Turns out his divine wisdom is just a random video he watched on the train, a fact she instantly reads from his mind. She then immediately pivots to teasing him about his more intimate thoughts, leaving him a mortified mess. With a smug look, she tries to frame his embarrassing thoughts as some kind of profound wisdom. Nice try. Their very weird moment is interrupted by a villager running up and yelling for the chief. This guy is completely out of breath, announcing that a Mr. Kimmin has arrived to see him. A new character in a sharp uniform appears, introducing himself as Kimmin and apologizing for the sudden visit. This two of them stand in an open field, a spot Kimmin chose specifically for a private conversation. He gets straight to the point, asking Sakamori what he knows about the 7 deadly sins. While Sakamori fumbles for an answer, Kimmin reveals he has already heard the rumors about his divine revelations. Cutting to the chase, Kimmin asks for straight-up proof that his connection to the gods is real. He then clarifies that even if Sakamori just cleverly faked it by predicting events, that would be good enough. With a serious expression, Kimmin warns him that things are about to get a lot more political. He explains that if powerful nobles demand proof and our boy cannot deliver, things could get very dangerous. Listening in, his goddess partner just smirks, clearly cooking up a plan of her own. His goddess partner decides it is showtime, snapping her fingers to give Kimmin the proof he wanted. Suddenly, Sakamori is levitating in a holy glow, looking completely baffled by this sudden promotion. His eyes go wide with shock. This was definitely not on his to-do list for the day. Even Kimmin is stunned speechless, realizing he is witnessing something way above his pay grade. Golden, intricate patterns begin to spread across Sakamori's body like divine tattoos. Kimmin immediately recognizes this as the mark of a divine offering, and his skepticism just evaporates. Completely sold on the spectacle, he declares Sakamori is the real deal, a true divine messenger. Our boy is still processing his new glow-up while Kimmin explains this gives him more legitimacy than any noble. As the light fades, Kimmin goes even further, suggesting he might even outrank the emperor himself. Sakamori looks over at his partner, that word offering finally starting to make a very weird kind of sense. This implication is shown in a divine vision, the two of them bound together as a holy pair. She confirms it is a divine mark, branding him as her official chosen partner, no take-backs. Flash forward several decades, and an older Sakamori is traveling a forest path with her. His partner cheekily asks if the thing they are searching for might be buried too deep to find. He is absolutely certain it is not, and she playfully asks what makes him so confident. She points out he is clearly enjoying the hunt because he'd look way more bored if he were being duped. Now 45, Sakamori has a smug look, eager to see what his goddess has up her sleeve. Floating behind him, she teases that his emotions are an open book, which is his one big weakness. He just smirks, retorting that he is the only one who knows her weakness while she holds his life in her hands. And just as they are bantering, a sudden, vicious attack comes flying out of nowhere. Sakamori feels a tremor, and his first thought is earthquake. Oh, you sweet summer child. Nope, that is just a giant rock lizard monster bursting out of the ground to say hello. This beast is absolutely massive, with a glowing pink eye that just screams bad news. Sakamori, however, just smirks, cracking his knuckles like he is about to take out the trash. He figures out what he is dealing with as a smaller version pops out of the dirt first. And by dealing with, we mean a kaiju-sized lizard that makes him look like an ant. His goddess casually identifies it as a top-class terrain beast, and he is just like, yep. With a smug look, he explains the locals are having trouble, so it is time for some divine pest control. His golden offering marks flare up as he tells the monster its eviction notice is served. Then he is floating in the air, surrounded by magic circles ready to drop the hammer. A massive beam of holy light blasts down from the heavens, courtesy of his partner, straight onto the beast. After the light show, the path is clear and the monster is just gone. Their little stroll takes them to a walled town, which is presumably where the locals live. And what do you know, the villagers are already cheering for him like he is a conquering hero. Next thing you know, flags that look suspiciously like Japan's are being raised all over town. Sakamori boldly declares this territory is now part of Nippon and under his goddess's protection. This local lord is so grateful he is offering to send supplies and people to Sakamori's village. But our boy is not done yet, deciding to add a little extra divine flair to the proceedings. He closes his eyes and lets his golden marks glow, putting on a real show for the crowd. This noble is completely floored, recognizing the glowing tattoos as the mark of God's blessing, hook, line, and sinker. This local lord announces they have been granted permission for a pilgrimage, which sounds suspiciously like a forced retirement. Sakamori lays down the law, telling the old guard to pack their bags and pick a successor from the younger generation. This lord is totally buying it, getting emotional about the long and difficult journey ahead. All the villagers are smiling, completely on board with shipping their entire leadership off on a one-way trip. And just like that, the town's elders are marched out of the gates on their holy vacation. His goddess partner is loving this, calling his plan a polite way to fire the entire ruling class. Sakamori explains his grand vision is to break the cycle of the old exploiting the young, a full-on generational coup. She points out his divine mark is basically a cheat code that makes powerful people agree to anything he says. He is sending them on a tough journey that is actually a super safe, well-paved road with rest stops. It is a luxury cruise, not a trial. Turns out the Holy Land is just a city with a giant school, basically sending them all back to college. Sakamori's grand plan is to re-educate them, believing knowledge is the true path to faith. Even the old lord is having a blast, giving lectures and totally embracing his new life as a student. Our boy smirks, admitting his whole scheme only works because he has an actual goddess on his side. She immediately calls him a heathen for using her divine authority to pull off a political takeover, but she is not stopping him. With the old guard gone, Sakamori stands tall, declaring it is finally time for the youth to run things. His partner teases him for being so cool, then immediately ruins it by reading his mind and calling him out for thinking nailed it. This montage begins, showing Sakamori personally clearing out hostile tribes to secure his new nation's borders. He gives a rousing speech to his people as the sun that never sets flag flies high above them, and he is not just fighting people, he is also taking on giant bear monsters to protect his territory. His nation grows as he plans expansions on a map, uniting different peoples under his rule. His new nation of Nippon has expanded across the map, a testament to his decades of work. Meanwhile, the old emperor of a rival nation is laid to rest, surrounded by flowers. At the funeral, an elderly Sakamori and his partner watch on with somber faces. All the other nobles are absolutely sobbing their eyes out, a masterclass in political grief. Then the scene shifts, his goddess partner peeking over him and announcing he is awake. And we see Sakamori is now ancient, lying on his deathbed after a long, eventful life. With a strange sense of peace, he notes his mind feels unusually clear for the first time in ages. His partner just smiles, glad he is lucid for what is coming next. Cutting straight to the point, our boy asks her if he is about to die. She gives him the unvarnished truth, he's got less than an hour left. To lighten the mood, she reads his mind and teases him with an old meme about wizards. Even now, he wearily tells her to stop reading his thoughts, their banter unchanged by time. He just dismisses it as an old meme, too tired to even get properly annoyed. So she ups the ante, calling him the Virgin Emperor, a deathbed roast for the ages. Sakamori sighs, confirming he understands the very pointed pun on his official title. A flood of memories from his long life begins to flash before his eyes, and looking back on it all, he decides it was a pretty good life. With his final words, he says he has no regrets, leaving the future to the young. She gently tells him his time is up and he calmly accepts his fate. But just as he is fading, she says she has one last promise to keep. His goddess partner recalls their old promise, asking if he is finally ready to give up. A flashback reveals their deal: if he ever quit, she'd get to amuse herself with him. Back on his deathbed, Sakamori is just processing this final, weird memory. She floats over him, asking for his answer, and he just lets out a soft chuckle. With a peaceful smile, he finally says he is ready to accept the end. Then he thanks her, saying he beat a god and had the best life ever, a total mic drop moment. Completely taken aback, she asks if he truly has zero regrets. He just confirms it with a simple, peaceful yeah. His vision starts to fade, but he admits his one regret was not having more quiet time with her. And with that, he finally lets go, his only regret on the table. His consciousness slips away into the darkness. But her voice cuts through, teasing him for having regrets after claiming he beat her. How rude. He is fading out, his life seemingly over for good. Suddenly, his vision returns and he sees a young hand reaching out to her. Sakamori jolts awake in bed, very much not dead and very much confused. Without a second thought, he leaps out of bed and sprints across the room. A look in the mirror confirms it, he is young again and he is absolutely losing his mind. His partner appears, explaining that a god losing to a human is embarrassing, so she is not letting it end like that. Our boy, already back to his old self, just smirks and asks what her point is. She grins, declaring it is time for extra innings, because this game is far from over. Sakamori is absolutely losing it over the phrase extra innings. This was not on his retirement bingo card. Just then, an old attendant wanders in to check on his health, completely unaware of the divine reset button. This guy's jaw promptly hits the floor, seeing his ancient emperor suddenly looking like a teenager again. Trying to play it cool, Sakamori just offers an awkward little wave and a yo. This attendant is now weeping with joy, calling it a miracle since everyone knew the emperor was on his last legs. Before Sakamori can explain, the man sprints out of the room to announce the miracle of the gods to the world. His partner smugly reminds him he now has the immortality all rulers crave, while he is just internally screaming. He argues he is still an old man mentally and just wants to pass the throne to the next generation anyway. But it is too late, a whole posse of his elderly former advisors comes barging in. An ancient Kimin is thrilled, realizing he gets to keep learning from the young man he met decades ago. Even a grumpy-looking old noble admits Sakamori made the country great and vows to stick by his side. This first attendant is back, tearfully pledging his loyalty once more. The whole retirement home is on board. They all make it clear they are not going anywhere, ready to serve as his retired advisors forever. As Sakamori's brain is about to short-circuit, his goddess gives him a patronizing little pat on the back. She then winks and tells him to do his best in extra innings, calling him grandpa for maximum psychic damage. Our boy is just gritting his teeth, absolutely fuming at being roped back into the job he just died to escape. And his one overwhelming thought is that his country is now completely, utterly screwed.